Every dollar I spent on girls made me richer. I found that out 5 minutes after my girlfriend dumped me beside another guy's sports car. I had $42 left, my family was drowning in debt, and my ex was still wearing my mother's watch like a breakup souvenir. Then a glowing screen appeared in front of my eyes. Perfect Life Ledger activated. Accepted spending on eligible women returns triple value. I thought I was losing my mind. So I tested it on an $8 coffee. The woman accepted it. My balance jumped. And that was when I realized something terrifying. If one coffee could make me richer, then the right woman might save my entire family. But before the ledger paid me, Kara Finch made sure everyone saw me lose. Kara Finch dumped me with her hand on Bryce Klein's rented sports car and my mother's watch still on her wrist. Her soft voice sounded rehearsed. Her sad eyes hit their marks. Even the parking circle at Brighton State University looked chosen for a reason. Enough people would see me lose, but not enough to call it cruel. I let her get through one sentence. Then I looked at her wrist and said, "The watch first." Kara blinked. "What? My mother's watch," I said. "You borrowed it for the donor dinner. You are not keeping a family piece as a breakup souvenir." Bryce leaned against the driver's door like the car belonged to his bloodline. The temporary rental sticker still clung to the lower windshield, bright as a confession. He smiled anyway. "Come on, Julian," Bryce said, loud enough for two students passing behind us to hear. "Don't make this uglier than your father's balance sheet." Bryce had just handed me the first useful thing of the day. Not money, not yet. A clean reason to hit back. Kara's mouth tightened. "This is exactly why I can't do this anymore. You're angry, broke, and obsessed with status." "No," I said. "I am angry, broke, and accurate. The watch." For 3 seconds she tried to hold the scene together. Her fingers went to the clasp. Bryce's smile slipped when the gold case flashed in the sun. I had bought Kara dinners, trips, bags, the little stupid comforts rich sons think are love. I could let all of that rot. But that watch belonged to Theresa West before my father ever signed his first Westbridge Travel Group lease. Kara knew that. She had worn it because being next to me used to feel expensive. Now she wanted to walk away wearing proof that my family had once mattered. I held out my hand. Kara laughed once, but it came out thin. "You gave me plenty of things, Julian. Are you going to make a list now? Dinner receipts, hotel lobbies, the necklace from my birthday?" "No," I said. "Keep the things I was stupid enough to buy. I paid for those lessons. The watch was never yours." Bryce pointed at my pocket like he had found a courtroom. "You hear yourself? This is why she left. You're counting gifts in public. And you are defending theft from the hood of a rental," I said. "We all have hobbies." The student who had laughed covered his mouth. Kara heard it. Bryce heard it. That tiny sound did more damage than any speech I could have made. Kara lifted her chin. "Your family is not even going to have a house by winter. Do you really want to fight me over a watch?" The line landed. For half a second, I saw my mother at the kitchen table, pretending not to cry over creditor mail. I saw my father in yesterday's shirt, smiling like lying could keep a roof in place. I saw Sophie hiding tuition emails because she thought one more problem might break the room. Then I looked back at Kara. "Yes," I said, "because when the house is shaking, you do not let guests steal the nails." Kara unclasped the watch and dropped it into my palm hard enough to sting. "Fine, keep your relic." Bryce opened the passenger door for her with a flourish. "I'll give you a ride, Kara. Julian probably needs to get used to walking." Kara looked at me, waiting. That was the script. The dumped, bankrupt boyfriend stands there humiliated while the replacement man drives her away. Maybe I chase the car. Maybe I beg. Maybe I make one of those pathetic speeches that gives everyone a story to retell later. I glanced at the lower windshield again. "Nice rental," I said. Bryce's hand froze on the door. Kara frowned. "What are you talking about?" "The barcode strip," I said. "Also the mirror tag you tucked behind the visor. For a man doing a victory lap, you really should peel the evidence off first." One of the students behind us laughed before he could stop himself. Bryce shut the door harder than he needed to. "It's my friend's car," Bryce said. "Of course," I said. "Borrowed car, borrowed confidence, borrowed woman. Very efficient." Kara's face flushed. "You are disgusting. I learned from watching people rent a personality by the hour." Bryce took one step toward me. He was taller, cleaner, dressed like a man who had never seen a bill arrive without a parent behind it. Last semester, he would not have blocked my path unless he wanted my table at the Lantern Room. Now he thought my family collapse had made him safe. "Careful," Bryce said. "You don't have the money to talk like that anymore." I slipped my mother's watch into my pocket. "Then it is impressive how cheap you still sound." "He did not hit me. Men like Bryce needed witnesses, not consequences." He opened the car door again, and this time Kara got in fast. She did not look at me when the rented engine started. When they pulled away, the students who had stopped to watch pretended they had been checking their phones the whole time. I stood in the exhaust, broke enough to count coffee money, and smiled like an idiot because Bryce had failed at the one thing he came to do. He had not made me beg. My phone buzzed before I moved. A message from Graham Sykes sat at the top of the screen. Graham, heard Kara upgraded. You alive? Under it, Theo Morrow had sent one laughing emoji and one skull. I did not answer. Parasites liked noise when the host stopped paying. They could wait their turn. Then my father's name appeared. Alan West, don't come home yet. Your mother is already upset. I am handling the calls. My thumb hovered over the message. Handling the calls meant he was lying. Alan West had built Westbridge Travel Group out of a storefront with a printer, 3 phones, and a smile that made nervous travelers hand him credit cards. He had also signed debts he thought a good season would cover. Then cancellations hit, partners vanished, and men who used to clap him on the back started saying contract like it was a weapon. I wanted to call him. Instead, the air in front of me split into pale blue lines. For one hard second, I thought Bryce had hit me after all, and my brain was doing something dramatic before I fell down. Then, words formed in front of my eyes. Perfect Life Ledger activated. Branch unlocked. Affinity return. Accepted spending on eligible adult women with high affinity returns triple value. Current balance, $42.18. I stared until the words blurred. The campus noise kept moving around me. A skateboard rolled over brick. A car horn popped twice near the exit. Someone cursed at a parking meter. Nobody else reacted to the glowing ledger floating in front of my face. So either I had cracked in public, or the universe had developed a nasty sense of timing. The ledger did not say love. It did not say beauty, obedience, romance, destiny, or any of the stupid words men use when they want greed to sound holy. It said accepted spending. It said high affinity. It said triple. That made it cleaner and uglier at the same time. I did not have to believe anyone adored me. I had to find out whether the rule worked before the next creditor call came through. The prompt changed. First eligible target detected nearby. I followed the small arrow across the parking circle toward the campus coffee counter. Evelyn Drake stood near the pickup shelf with a stack of folders under one arm and her other hand digging through her bag. She was not a professor. She had no great authority over me. Evelyn was an adult campus success advisor, the kind of person who helped students find internships, emergency grants, or a door that had not slammed yet. She had helped me once before the collapse, back when my biggest problem had been choosing between an internship and spending a week at the West Family Lake House. She had not asked for a donation, a favor, or a table near the window. That made her rare. A small marker hovered near her shoulder. Evelyn Drake. Affinity, 63. Eligible. My first reaction was ugly and practical. 63 meant enough. Enough for what? I did not know yet. Enough to risk $42.18 apparently. Evelyn saw me and softened in that professional way adults use when they want to ask if you have eaten without saying you look poor. Julian, Evelyn said. I heard about Westbridge. Are you okay? No, I said, but I am still upright. That counts on campus. She looked at my hand in my pocket, where I was gripping the watch like it might run away. Do you need to sit down? The old me would have said something charming. The wounded me wanted to say something cruel. The new thing in front of my eyes wanted data. The barista said 1 coffee on the counter and called Evelyn's order. Evelyn reached for her card, but a folder slipped against her elbow. 2 forms fell. She swore under her breath and bent to catch them. I picked up the forms with one hand and stepped to the register with the other. I've got hers, I told the barista. And a plain coffee for me. Evelyn straightened. Julian, you do not need to buy me coffee right now. I know, I said. I mean it. If money is tight, do not perform for me. The line should have embarrassed me. A week earlier, nobody at Brighton State University would have dared say money is tight to my face. That day, Evelyn said it gently and still made me feel like I had been handed a receipt for my life. I tapped my card anyway. For one poisonous second, my hand went toward the old metal card still sitting in my wallet. Last month, that card had opened doors. It had made servers stand straighter and clerks smile before they knew my name. That morning, the account behind it was dead. I knew it. The card knew it. Even the cheap leather wallet seemed embarrassed to hold it, so I used the small debit card with the peeling corner. The barista watched the machine a little too closely. The student behind me stopped pretending not to listen. Evelyn saw my jaw lock and reached toward her own bag again. Julian, she said, please don't. I kept the card on the reader. The card approved for $8.20. My balance dropped to $33.98. Nothing happened. The barista slid Evelyn's cup toward her. She did not touch it. Julian, Evelyn said, quieter now, why did you do that? Because I am desperate. Because I may be hallucinating. Because my family is drowning and some glowing accountant in the air just told me women can become lifeboats if they like me enough. I said none of that. I nudged the cup toward her. Because you looked like you needed one. Evelyn studied me for one more breath, then she took the coffee. The ledger flashed. Accepted. Spent confirmed. Affinity return processed. Return, $24.60. Current balance, $58.58. The number was too precise to be comfort and too ridiculous to be coincidence. I refreshed the bank app once. Then again, the balance stayed. The student behind me leaned toward his friend and muttered, "He is celebrating $20, that's brutal." I almost laughed. Bryce had needed a rented car to feel tall. Kara had needed my mother's watch to walk away shiny. I had just made $24.60 from a coffee. Evelyn did not even want to accept, and somehow that tiny ugly profit felt more dangerous than every old allowance I had ever spent, because this money had a rule. Rules could be pushed, rules could be abused. I stopped breathing. It was not the amount. $24.60 could not save my father. It could barely buy gas, and I did not even have a car anymore. But the number had moved exactly when Evelyn accepted the coffee. Not when I paid, not when I wanted it, when she accepted. Evelyn noticed my face. "Julian?" I forced my hand away from the counter. Caffeine hit early. She did not believe me. Her eyes moved over my face, the cheap hoodie I had grabbed that morning, the pocket where my fingers still guarded my mother's watch. She lowered her voice so the barista could not hear. "Listen to me. Pride makes bad choices feel clean. If you need help, ask before you do something that leaves marks." That should have stopped me. Instead, it made the ledger feel less like a miracle and more like a loaded weapon. Evelyn had given me a warning, and the system had given me a number. One was decent, the other was useful. I took my plain coffee and stepped aside. A student near the napkin station whispered, "That is Julian West. I thought his family was cooked." I looked at him. He looked away. Useful. The world still knew my name. It had just changed the price tag under it. Evelyn touched my sleeve before I could leave. "Are you sure you're safe?" "No," I said, "but I am less broke than I was 5 minutes ago." She frowned, not understanding. I gave her the smile Bryce had failed to kill. "Thank you for taking the coffee." I walked out before she could ask the second question. Outside, the ledger had disappeared. My phone had not. The worst part was how normal the campus looked. People crossed the brick paths with headphones in. Someone complained about a midterm. A couple kissed beside the library steps like bankruptcy and magic accounting were not sharing the same afternoon with them. I checked the watch in my pocket again. It was still there. A small sane object in a day that had started throwing blue prompts at my face. That helped. A little. Then the next message arrived. Teresa West had sent 3 messages. "Teresa, your father says not to worry. Teresa, I am worrying anyway." "Teresa," someone called about the urgent payment again. "Please do not come home angry." Then Sophie West sent a photo of 2 packed college boxes stacked beside the front door. "Sophie, Mom is pretending these are not in the way." That hit the real wound. Kara leaving hurt my ego. Bryce's rented performance offended me. Graham and Theo laughing annoyed me. But my mother texting like she was apologizing for being scared made me want to set the city on fire and charge admission. I opened my bank app again. $58.58. The smallest transaction of my new life had just proven the ugliest rule I had ever heard. Spend on the right woman. It triple back. I looked at Sophie's boxes, my father's lie, and my mother's worry. Then I asked the only question that mattered. How much could I risk before the debt ate my parents alive? I checked the coffee payout in 3 different places before I admitted the worst truth. The ledger was real. My balance still said $58.58. My father's message still said he was handling the calls. My mother's messages still sounded like she was apologizing for being afraid. Sophie's photo of packed college boxes still sat on my screen like a bill with a heartbeat. $24.60 had proven the rule and had not saved anyone. That was the lie I used to make the next ugly choice feel like strategy. I sat on a bench outside Brighton State University with my mother's watch in my pocket and opened the cash advance screen on my phone. The warning text appeared in polite little paragraphs. Fees, interest, penalty, minimum payment. Every line meant the same thing. Ms. Once, bleed longer. I ignored most of it. I looked at one number. $4,900 available. My thumb hovered. If the ledger failed on a bigger spend, I would not just be broke. I would be broke with a fresh hole under my feet. If it worked, I would have real principle. Not family saving money yet, but enough to stop crawling. Alan West sent another message while I stared. "Alan, your mother does not know the full number. Keep it that way for now." That was my father, still trying to protect the room while the ceiling fell. Then Sophie called. I almost let it ring. I was not ready to sound like an older brother. I was still sitting there with a revenge system in my eyes and a cash advance screen in my hand. I answered anyway. Sophie did not say hello. She said, "Are we moving?" The question hit worse than Bryce's joke because Sophie was trying to sound casual. I could hear boxes scraping behind her, and I could picture Teresa pretending to reorganize instead of admitting she was packing what mattered first. No, I said. Not today. That was not the question. Sophie had always been too smart at the wrong moments. I looked at the cash advance number. Then ask me tomorrow. She went quiet. Then she said, Mom thinks you are mad at her. I am mad at everyone except her. Good, Sophie said. Aim well. She hung up before I could make another promise I could not pay for. I accepted the cash advance. The bank app approved it so fast it felt insulting. A normal person might have gone home. A noble person might have called his parents and confessed he had just done something stupid. I walked toward the bus stop for Riverton Galleria because the ledger had given me one clean condition. Accepted spend, not pity, not fantasy, not a promise. Acceptance. At the mall, the leather boutique clerk saw my hoodie, my old sneakers, and the cheap debit card in my hand. Her smile stayed polite, but her fingers moved one of the display bags a few inches farther from the counter. That was fine. A clerk protecting inventory was not my enemy. But the motion still made my teeth touch. I'm looking for a work tote, I said. Structured, professional, something an advisor could carry every day without babying it. The clerk's eyes flicked to the debit card. We have smaller pieces at lower price points. I did not ask for smaller. Do you have a budget? The clerk asked. Yes, I said. Enough for the right one. That did not impress her. She gave me the careful smile people use when they expect a customer to touch expensive things and leave fingerprints. She pulled a cheaper nylon bag from a lower shelf. This is popular with students, she said. I am not shopping for a student. Her eyes moved over my hoodie again. Then perhaps a gift card would be safer. There it was. Not an insult sharp enough for war, but enough to remind me what I looked like now. A boy buying above his visible rank. A fallen name pretending it still had a wallet. I tapped the glass near the locked display. Open that case. The clerk hesitated. I smiled without warmth. You can judge me after the card clears. Doing it before costs commission. That got the case open. She paused. 1 minute later, she placed a deep brown designer tote on the counter. Clean lines, soft leather, hardware quiet enough to look expensive instead of loud. It was exactly the kind of bag Evelyn Drake would refuse if I presented it honestly. The tag said $2,850. The old Julian would have spent that because he liked the clerk's reaction. The new Julian spent it because the math could punch through my family's door. I paid. This time, the machine approved without drama. The receipt printed with the calm cruelty of machines. They did not care if a man was ruined, they cared if the account answered. The clerk tucked tissue around the tote like she had believed in me all along. Would you like me to hold the door? She asked. No, I said. Remember the commission lesson instead. It will be useful later. Her smile flickered, and that was enough. I had not come there to crush her, but I was done letting small doubts pass through me for free. The clerk's posture changed the instant the receipt printed. She slid the box toward me with both hands. Would you like gift wrapping? No, I said. Plain shopping bag. Her surface smile became realer around the edges. Of course. That small shift should not have satisfied me. It did. I carried the tote back to campus under my arm like a bomb wrapped in tissue paper. Evelyn's office door was open. That mattered. The hallway outside the Campus Success Center was busy. That mattered too. I was reckless, not stupid. An expensive gift in a closed room could become a story with teeth, and I already had enough people chewing on my name. Evelyn looked up from her desk. Julian, twice in one day means either you listened to me or you ignored me completely. Both, I said. She saw the shopping bag and immediately stopped smiling. No, Evelyn said. I set the bag on the chair closest to the open door, not on her desk. You have not even seen it. I do not need to. You bought me coffee when you should not have. If that is another thank you, the answer is, the ledger did not flash. No shortcut, no mercy. Evelyn stood. Julian, I know what people are saying about your family. That is exactly why I cannot take expensive things from you. It's not expensive, I lied. Her eyebrows rose. I hated how bad the lie felt in my mouth. Not because lying bothered me. I had told prettier lies for less. I hated that Evelyn was too decent a target for the trick to feel clean. So I made the lie practical. It's an outlet sample, I said. There is a stitching issue inside. The clerk said it could not go back on display. Evelyn looked at the bag again. That was the opening. I pulled the tote from the plain shopping bag and placed it on the chair. The office lights touched the leather, and for 1 second even Evelyn forgot to be ethical. Then a woman's voice cut through the doorway. That is not an outlet sample. Daphne Drake stood in the hall with the takeout container in one hand and a look that could have sliced the tote open. Evelyn closed her eyes. Daphne. Daphne stepped just inside the doorway. She was Evelyn's sister. I knew that from an old campus fundraiser where they had argued over the same clipboard for 10 minutes. Daphne looked from the tote to me and then to Evelyn. Please tell me this student is not buying you designer bags in the middle of a workday, Daphne said. The hallway slowed around us. A student aide at the front desk glanced up. Someone by the copier stopped pressing buttons. Evelyn's face went red, not soft red, not flattered red, but furious, embarrassed red. The hallway had become a witness. That was worse than a refusal and better than a secret. If Evelyn accepted now, nobody could pretend I had cornered her. If she refused, I would leave with my stupidity in a shopping bag. I raised both hands. Daphne is right to ask, I said. Evelyn did not request anything. She did not encourage anything. I brought it. If she refuses, I take it and leave. Evelyn looked at me sharply. Her shoulders dropped half an inch. Control had moved back to her side of the desk. Daphne did not soften. And why are you bringing it? Because she helped me before my family was useful to anyone, I said. Because I needed one person today to accept something without acting like my name was contagious. Because I am desperate enough to be generous in the wrong order. That was too honest. I could hear it the second it left my mouth. Evelyn's anger shifted into something heavier. She stayed behind the desk. Good. Boundaries were not decorations in that office. They were the only reason the scene could survive. Daphne pointed at the chair. How much? Outlet sample, I said. Daphne looked at Evelyn. That means a lot. Evelyn gave her sister a tired look. I know what it means. I stepped back into the doorway. I'll go. If the answer is no, leave it outside the office. I'll return it. I turned before either sister could answer. That was the risky part nobody in the hallway understood. The ledger had said, accepted spending. Pushing Evelyn would poison the acceptance. Leaving gave her the choice and gave me the only honest chance I had. I made it 3 steps down the hall. Behind me, Daphne said, Evelyn, no. Evelyn said, do not call me that at work. A drawer opened. Paper shifted. I stopped walking but did not turn around. Evelyn spoke louder, so I would hear without her having to chase me. Julian! I looked back. She had moved her folders from the torn canvas bag beside her desk into the new tote. The old bag sagged open on the floor, one strap half ripped where she had tied it in a knot. I am accepting this as a professional tool, Evelyn said. Not as a secret, not as a promise, not as permission for you to do this again. Daphne crossed her arms. I am writing down that sentence in my head. Write this down too, Evelyn said to her sister, then looked at me. If you are in trouble, you ask for real help before you gamble with your life. The ledger flashed across my vision. Accepted spend confirmed. Affinity return processed. Return, $8,550. Current balance, $10,658.58. For one breath, the hallway tilted. The return hit so hard my fingers went numb, not because $10,000 was wealth. Last year, I had wasted more than that trying to impress people who could not remember the waiter's name, but $10,000 was no longer coffee-proof. It was a weapon with a receipt. Daphne saw my face and narrowed her eyes. Are you okay? No, I said. Evelyn gripped the tote handle. Julian! I backed away before my grin got too sharp for the room. You said no more weird gifts, I heard you. Daphne said, good, because the next one gets thrown at you. Fair, I said. Aim for Bryce Klein if he is nearby. Evelyn did not laugh, but the corner of her mouth twitched. That was enough. I had used her acceptance, not her authority, and everyone in the hallway had heard the boundary. The money still landed. That made the ledger more dangerous, not less. Outside the Success Center, my phone had already started vibrating. Not my father this time. A campus group chat I had muted for months had woken up around a screenshot. Bryce Klein had posted a photo from the parking circle. My back was in it. Kara's profile was in it. His rented car was cropped carefully enough to hide the windshield. Bryce, official notice, Julian West is finished. Somebody check if bankrupt boys still tip. Graham Sykes had reacted first. Theo Morrow had reacted second. Then a dozen people who had eaten at my tables, ridden in my cars, and called my mother elegant started treating my collapse like open entertainment. I was still looking at the screen when 2 women walked out of the student center. One was Penny Rourke, blunt voice, bright laugh, the kind of girl who could turn gossip into a weapon and a joke in the same sentence. The other was Maya Lennox. Maya saw me before Penny did. I remembered Maya from the old version of my life, but not because she had chased my money the loudest. She had been the one who told Graham to stop calling my father's company a rich kid toy while he was drinking from a bottle my father had paid for. She had handed me notes after I missed class for a Westbridge emergency. She had liked me when liking me was easy, yes, but she had also defended me when everyone else was busy collecting favors. A marker lit above her shoulder. Maya Lennox, Affinity 76, eligible. Penny glanced from my phone to my face. So it is true? Bryce is running a funeral for your social life? Maya did not laugh. She stepped closer and looked at the group chat on my screen. Bryce cropped the car. Penny's eyes sharpened. What car? The one with the rental tag, Maya said. I looked at her. Maya's mouth curved, small and dangerous. I saw it when he pulled in. That was when the next target stopped being a number and became a person. Bryce wanted the campus to believe I was finished. Maya had seen the lie he used to sell it. Penny looked me up and down. If you are about to use my friend to win a breakup, I charge a witness fee. Good, I said. I prefer honest invoices. Maya gave Penny a warning look, then faced me again. What do you want, Julian? There were a dozen answers I could not safely say. Principle, affinity, revenge. A public comparison so clean that Kara would choke on it. So I chose the answer that could become all of them. Lunch, I said, and your opinion on a gift. Penny laughed. That is either romantic or financially stupid. In my experience, I said, the best things are both, and the ledger had just told me she was worth more than any rumor he could spread. The next swing would not be private, and that was exactly why it could hurt so badly. Maya Lennox agreed to lunch while Bryce Klein's funeral announcement for my social life was still climbing through campus. That mattered. It mattered more than the lunch, more than the money, more than the way Penny Rourke leaned over Maya's shoulder and read the group chat out loud like she was narrating a public execution. Penny said, Bryce says Julian West is officially finished. Maya looked at me instead of the screen. Bryce also cropped the rental tag out of his photo. I smiled. You noticed? I noticed. Desperate editing. Penny pointed between us. So we are not scared of the bankrupt boy curse? Maya's answer came before mine. No. That one word did more for me than Bryce's whole rented car had done for him. Maya did not pledge loyalty. She did not make a speech. She just refused to step back while the rumor was fresh. The ledger did not flash yet, but I felt the next door unlock. I told Maya, lunch at Astor Grill. Then you give me an honest opinion on a gift. Penny whistled. Astor Grill? Someone's bankruptcy has table manners. Maya gave me a careful look. Are you trying to make Kara jealous? Eventually, I said, but not with lunch. Lunch is because you defended my father before defending him cost you anything. That made Maya stop. Penny's joking face softened for half a second, then she ruined it on purpose. Fine, feed her. But if she gets dragged into your rich boy revenge tour, I want snacks and front row seats. Penny, Maya said. No, she is right, I said. Front row seats are expensive now. Penny laughed and walked backward toward the student center. Good. Charge Bryce double. Maya stayed with me. The group chat kept crawling while we walked. Someone posted a broken crown emoji. Someone else asked if Kara had taken applications for the replacement seat. Then Bryce tagged Maya directly. Bryce, you sure you want lunch with a guy who asks for gifts back? Maya read it. I saw the message because her phone was tilted in her hand, not because she offered it to me. For a second, I thought she would slow down. Instead, she muted the chat and slid the phone into her bag. He left out the part where the gift belonged to your mother, Maya said. He leaves out anything that makes him shorter. Then he must edit a lot. That was when I decided Maya would not get a cheap reward if the ledger paid. She had just chosen public inconvenience before I bought her anything. On the walk to Astor Grill, I kept the pace slow enough for her to change her mind. She did not. She asked about my mother instead of asking whether the rumors were true. That was the difference between curiosity and hunger. Curiosity wanted the story. Hunger wanted the wound. My mother is pretending she is fine, I said. That sounds like Teresa West. You remember her? Maya glanced at me. She gave me a ride home once when it rained. You forgot. I had forgotten. That one hit harder than a flirtation. Maya had a memory of my family that did not come with a price tag. The ledger marker beside her shoulder brightened. Maya Lennox. Affinity 78. Still eligible. Astor Grill smelled like butter, grilled meat, and people trying to look less nervous than they were. Last semester, the host would have recognized me before I reached the stand. That day, he checked my hoodie, then checked the reservation screen with professional doubt. 2, he asked. 2, I said. Maya touched my arm. We can go somewhere cheaper. The host heard that. I heard him hear it. I leaned toward Maya, not the host. I did not invite you to apologize for my bank balance. Her fingers left my sleeve, but she did not pull away from me. Then do not use me to prove something. Fair. The host's doubt became another small audience. Not big enough for revenge. Big enough to remind Maya that walking beside me now came with weather. The host led us to a small table near the window. Maya sat with her bag in her lap. She was still there despite the weather, and that mattered more than borrowed confidence. She watched me like she was waiting for the old Julian to come out and perform. I almost gave him to her. He knew how to charm a table. He knew how to order too much, tip too hard, and make a woman feel chosen by making everyone else feel slightly underpaid. I did something better. I listened. Maya told me she had almost transferred out after her sophomore year because the social circle around Brighton State University had turned every invitation into a ranking. She told me Penny stayed loud so Maya would not have to. She told me she defended Westbridge Travel Group because Graham Sykes had been eating Alan West's food while calling Alan's company a vanity project. That bothered me, Maya said. He could have declined the invitation. He wanted the benefits and the insult. That is Graham's whole religion. Maya smiled into her water glass. When the server brought the check, Maya reached for it out of reflex. I put my card down first. Julian, Maya said. It is lunch, I said, not a marriage license. That joke did not make it less suspicious. No, it made it accurate. The card approved for $116.40. Maya watched the server walk away, then looked back at me. So, what is the gift? Something for the first woman who stands beside me while Kara and Bryce are still laughing. Her expression changed. That sounds exactly like making Kara jealous. No, I said. Making Kara jealous is the consequence. The gift is for the woman who does not run before the consequence arrives. Maya did not answer right away. The ledger flashed under the edge of my vision. Accepted spend confirmed. Affinity return processed. Return $349.20. Current balance $10,891.38. A small lunch return after the tote payout should not have excited me. It did. Because this time, the money came with Maya watching me like she knew there was a trick but had not decided whether the trick was dangerous to her or to everyone else. After lunch, we walked to Riverton Galleria. I did not tell Maya the ledger had rewarded her. I did not tell her the system had made her presence profitable. Telling her would not protect her. It would only make the next choice uglier. At the Galleria, the polished floors reflected people who wanted to be seen spending. Bryce belonged in that kind of place the way a cardboard crown belongs on a king. It worked from a distance, it failed up close. Maya slowed outside a leather boutique. Julian, if this is about Kara, do not buy me something I have to carry like a billboard. Then pick something you would use even if Kara moved to another state. That is a better answer. Inside, one clerk looked up from a display and gave us the standard smile. Not cold, not warm, waiting to see which version of customer we were. Maya went to a row of structured bags and touched one with a careful finger. This one is gorgeous. Too much, but gorgeous. Too much for whom? For a normal person. I have been called worse today. She gave me a look. That is not permission, it is an opinion request. Maya opened her mouth to argue. Kara Finch's voice cut across the boutique before Maya could speak. Julian, of course! Some payoffs arrive because you plan them. The best ones walk in wearing perfume and bad timing. Kara stood near the entrance with Bryce beside her. Bryce had changed shirts since the parking circle, but not his expression. He still looked like a man trying to invoice the room for his presence. Kara's eyes went from me to Maya to the bag under Maya's hand. The comparison landed before anyone spoke. Bryce recovered first. You have got to be kidding me. The clerk's smile sharpened with interest. Maya lowered her hand from the bag, but she did not move away from me. Kara looked at Maya. So this is what he does now? Find someone cheaper to impress? Maya's shoulders tightened. Bryce laughed, loud and ugly. Careful, Maya. He is running on fumes. If he buys you anything, make sure the receipt clears before you pose. There it was. The public attack. The humiliation attempt. The exact pressure that made a decent man leave and a smarter bastard stay. The ledger opened in front of me. Hostile status attack detected. Branch unlocked. Hate rebate. Public hater pressure may increase approved return when spending humiliates the attacker. I almost laughed in Bryce's face. Instead, I looked at the clerk. Bring the structured one Maya touched, and the black one on the upper shelf, and that cream one near the mirror. The clerk blinked. All three? 4, I said. Add the small evening bag Kara keeps staring at. Kara's face snapped toward me. I am not staring. You are now. Bryce stepped forward. Stop acting. You cannot afford one of those. I turned to him. Then this is your chance to be generous. Buy Kara the evening bag. The clerk looked at Bryce. Maya looked at Bryce. Kara looked at Bryce hardest of all. For the first time since I had met him, Bryce had no rented object to hide behind. He smiled too late. I do not play childish spending games. You offered me a ride yesterday so you could perform in front of a parking circle, I said. Do not discover dignity when the card reader comes out. The clerk made a tiny sound and covered it with a cough. Bryce's jaw worked. He pulled out his wallet, then stopped with his fingers on the card. Kara saw the pause. That was the real card decline. The machine did not need to say anything. Bryce said, Kara does not need me to buy random bags to prove a point. Kara's eyes stayed on the small evening bag. I nodded. Translation accepted. I handed my card to the clerk. Ring mine up. Maya leaned close enough that only I could hear. Julian, this is insane. Yes, I said. But it is also educational. The clerk read the total, and Bryce's face lost color one shade at a time. $9,740. A week earlier, I would have spent that to kill boredom. That day, it was almost my entire usable balance. For one ugly second, fear grabbed my throat. If the ledger decided hate was not enough, if Maya refused the gift, if the return failed, I would walk out with expensive leather and no way to explain why I had turned my family's crisis into a boutique tantrum. Then Bryce smirked. "Watch it decline," he said. He should have stayed quiet. I tapped the card. "Approved." The clerk's eyes widened for one clean instant before training pulled her face back into service. Kara's lips parted. Bryce stared at the machine like the card reader had betrayed him personally. The boutique did not explode. Nobody clapped. That would have been cheap. The better sound was silence with a price tag. I signed. The clerk placed the bags on the counter, and I picked up the structured one Maya had touched first. Then I held it out to Maya. "For you," I said. "Not because Kara is watching, because she insulted you and you stayed." Maya looked at the bag, then at Kara. Kara's expression was no longer disgust. It was calculation with jealousy leaking through the cracks. Maya took the bag. Accepted spend confirmed. Affinity return processed. Hate rebate applied. Return, $34,090. Current balance, $35,241.38. The numbers hit like a door breaking open. Bryce had not just failed to humiliate me, he had made the purchase profitable. Kara looked at Maya's new bag as if it had been taken from her own closet. "He is using you." Maya's voice came out calm. "Maybe, but he is the only one here not pretending the rental tag was invisible." Bryce snapped. "You do not know anything about my car." I smiled. "Your friend's car, remember? Keep the story straight." The clerk set the remaining bags closer to my side of the counter. Service had chosen its favorite. Bryce saw that too. His hand closed around Kara's elbow. "We're leaving." Kara did not move at first. That hesitation was small, but it was public. Bryce felt it. Maya saw it. The clerk pretended not to. I picked up the small evening bag and placed it back on the counter instead of giving it to Kara. "Actually," I told the clerk, "return that one to display. I only bought it to see whether he would reach for his wallet." The clerk paused, then nodded. "Of course." Kara's face went hot. "You are pathetic." "No," I said. "Pathetic is watching another woman receive the bag you wanted and still pretending you upgraded." Bryce pulled her toward the door. Maya did not smile until they were gone. When she did, it was not soft. It was satisfied and a little scared of itself. "You enjoyed that," she said. "I paid for it." "That is not the same thing." "Today it is." She looked down at the bag in her hands. "I do not want to be a prop." "Then do not be one," I said. "Props do not get choices. You just made several." Maya held my gaze. "And if I choose to keep it, then Bryce loses twice." She laughed once, shocked at herself, and slid the strap onto her shoulder. The ledger marker beside her brightened again. Maya, Lennox, Affinity, 82. Public replacement achieved. That last line was the system's language, not mine. But I could not deny the hit. Kara had left me beside a rented car with my mother's watch on her wrist. Less than 2 days later, she had watched another woman stand beside me in a luxury store and accept what Bryce could not match. That was the first real public win. It did not heal anything, it just made the wound profitable. My phone buzzed while the clerk finished the adjusted bags. This time, it was not a campus chat. It was Alan West. "Alan, come home now!" A second message followed from Sophie. "Sophie, do not yell when you get here. Mom is already shaking." I stared at the screen until the boutique lights blurred. Maya touched my arm. "Family?" "Yes." "Do you want me to come?" I almost said yes because the ledger would have liked that. Another spend, another witness, another soft hand beside me while the old world tried to bite. Then I pictured my mother trying to stay proud in front of a creditor, and my father trying to protect us with empty pockets. "No," I said. "This one is family." Maya nodded. She did not argue. That made leaving her harder. I sent her back with the bag and took the cheapest ride I could find to the West House. The driver did not know me. He did not care about Kara, Bryce, Maya, or the way a glowing system had turned spite into capital. Useful. I needed 10 minutes without an audience. The ride ended with my balance still glowing in my mind and my mother's watch heavy in my pocket. When I reached the front door, I heard a man's voice inside before I touched the handle. Uncle Martin Hale said, "Alan, urgent means today. If your son still has money for girls, he has money for family debt." My hand closed around the watch. The mall victory had paid. Now the debt had come to collect its share. Uncle Martin Hale had my father cornered at the dining table, and Sophie West's packed college boxes were sitting by the front door like evidence he could smell. The front door was not fully closed when I reached it. That meant my mother had opened it for him politely. That pissed me off more than if he had kicked it in. Uncle Martin's voice carried through the hallway. "Alan, urgent means today. Not next month. Not after another sad phone call. Today." My father answered in the calm voice he used when he wanted a room to believe the floor was still there. I told you I am working on it. You have been working on it since Westbridge Travel Group turned into a cautionary tale, Teresa West said. Martin. He ignored her. I stepped inside with my mother's watch in my pocket and mall receipt still folded against my phone. Sophie stood near the boxes with both arms crossed. She had written college things on one box in black marker, like giving the fear a label made it less alive. She looked at me once, then looked away fast because she knew I would see she had been crying. Uncle Martin saw me and smiled. Not with warmth, with appetite. There he is, Martin said. The son with money for girls. My father stood so quickly the chair leg scraped the floor. Julian, not now. Too late, I said. Teresa's face was pale in a way makeup could not hide. She looked at my pocket, maybe because she knew the shape of the Cartier watch better than anyone in that room. I wanted to hand it to her immediately. I wanted 1 clean second before the next punch. Martin did not give us that. He tapped a folded notice on the table. Your father has an urgent payment due before 5. If it fails, the larger debt moves forward. And, before anyone starts acting offended, I did not create the debt. I only understand what people do when families start pretending memories are assets, Sophie said. Do not talk about our house. Martin smiled at her like she was a child who had spoken during adult dinner. The West family lake house is not a memory, Sophie. It is property. Property pays when sentiment cannot. My mother's fingers tightened on the chair. That did it. Not because Martin was wrong about property, he was right in the ugliest way. The lake house had windows my father repaired himself, dents in the dock from every summer. Sophie and I learned to drive a boat badly, and a kitchen wall where Teresa had marked our heights until we got too embarrassed to stand still. To a creditor, it was leverage. To Martin, it was an easy bite. I pulled out my phone. How much is urgent? Alan shook his head once. Julian. How much? Martin leaned back. You do not need to perform. We all know the mall is easier than family debt. Bags impress girls. Bank transfers impress adults. Then teach me, I said. How much? My father looked at the table. Teresa answered because she was done watching men protect her with silence. 28,000. Sophie inhaled. Martin's smile widened. He thought the number would put me in my place. He thought I would flinch, ask for time, maybe look at my father and finally understand that my public revenge did not matter inside a house being eaten from the foundation. He was half right. The number hurt. It also fit. I opened the bank app. My usable balance still showed $35,241.38. That was not enough to save Westbridge. It was not enough to protect the lake house. It was barely enough to buy 1 quiet week from people who had learned to weaponize due dates. But it was enough to make Martin lose the first round. I asked my father, which account? Julian, Alan said again, lower this time. I looked at him. You taught me not to argue with a bill in front of guests. Pay it or remove the guest. That landed on Teresa before it landed on him. Her hand came off the chair. My father gave me the account with the slow defeat of a man handing his son a loaded thing. Martin laughed. Old allowance habits die hard. Does Maya know her new handbag is about to become your family's electric bill? I smiled at him. You are very loud for a man waiting to be paid. He stopped laughing. I sent the transfer. No ceremony, no speech, no long explanation. Just my thumb on the screen and $28,000 leaving my account. For 2 seconds, nothing happened. That was enough for Martin to recover his face. Pending, he said. Of course it is pending. Alan, this is what I mean. The boy has theater in his blood. My father's phone buzzed. Then Martin's phone buzzed. Then the folded notice on the table stopped looking like a weapon and started looking like trash. Alan stared at his screen. Teresa whispered, Did it clear? My father looked at me like he did not recognize the boy in his dining room. It cleared! Sophie covered her mouth with both hands. Martin checked his own phone. His thumb moved twice. His face did something ugly and satisfying. It tried to stay superior while the floor dropped under it. Then he tried to save himself with paperwork language. That covers the urgent piece, Martin said. It does not cover late pressure, calls, administrative noise, my time coming here, or the fact that I had to push your father before anyone in this house acted like an adult. I looked at the notice on the table. You came here to collect fear. The payment cleared. Your bonus is embarrassment. Sophie made one sharp sound that was almost a laugh. Martin's eyes cut to her. Young lady, if you understood how money works, you would stop packing college boxes and start packing sacrifice. The room went still. Sophie lowered her hands from her mouth. If you understood family, you would not smile while saying that. That one did not come from me. That made it better. Martin checked his phone again like another notification might rescue him. It did not. Where did you get that? He asked. Old crypto account, I said. It was the laziest cover in modern America, which made it useful. People believed sudden money if you attached it to a thing they did not want explained. Martin narrowed his eyes. Convenient. Urgent, I said. Use your own word. Teresa moved before anyone else did. She walked to the front door, opened it wide, and looked back at Martin. Get out! Martin stared at her. Teresa, do not be dramatic. Get out of my house. There it was. Not a speech, not healing, not a family hug with background music. Just my mother standing in her own hallway again, telling the man who had enjoyed her fear to leave. Martin looked at Alan for help. Alan did not move. Sophie whispered, "Wow!" Martin gathered the folded notice with 2 fingers. His face had turned the color of old meat. "You bought time, that is all." "That was all you came to sell," I said. His eyes shifted back to me. "Do not confuse one cleared payment with a comeback. The company debt is larger, the lake house is still on the table, and boys who find sudden money usually lose it faster than they found it." "Then hurry back," I said. "Maybe you can watch me lose it in person." Teresa's voice hardened. "Martin!" He stepped toward the door, but he was not finished. Men like him never leave on a clean loss. They drag a threat behind them so they can pretend the exit was strategy. At the threshold, Martin looked at Sophie and the boxes. "College is expensive. Pride is worse." Sophie looked at him with red eyes and said, "So is being the uncle. Nobody wants a dinner." My mother almost smiled. Martin did not. He left. Teresa shut the door hard enough to make the wall frame shake. For one breath, nobody moved. Then Sophie picked up the box marked college things and carried it 2 steps away from the front door. Not upstairs, not unpacked, just away from the door. That tiny movement hit harder than a victory speech. 5 minutes earlier, those boxes had looked like surrender waiting for a label. Now my sister was moving one of them back into the house. Then my mother crossed the hallway and pulled me into her arms. I let her. I had spent the whole day trying not to look wounded in front of people who wanted to enjoy it. I had been dumped, mocked, measured, watched, and rewarded by a system that spoke like a bank machine with a demon inside. My mother's hands on the back of my hoodie almost broke me faster than all of it. Then she felt the watch in my pocket. She pulled back. I took it out and placed it in her palm. "Kara gave it back," I said. Teresa stared at the watch. Her fingers closed around it slowly, as if the metal might vanish if she moved too quickly. "Did you have to ask?" she said. "Yes." Her eyes shone. "Good." That one word paid me in a way the ledger could not measure. Alan was still standing by the table with his phone in his hand. Pride and shame were fighting on his face, and shame was meaner. "Julian," he said, "if that money is dangerous, tell me now. It is not stolen." That was not my question. "No," I said, "but it is my safest answer." Sophie dropped onto the stairs and looked between us. "That is not comforting. It was not designed to be." Teresa gave me the look that had ended many childhood rebellions before they began. "Do not be cute right now." I nodded once. "I had an old account I forgot about. It hit. I used it." Alan did not believe the whole lie. I could see that. But he wanted to believe enough of it to keep standing. Sometimes mercy looked exactly like bad evidence left unchallenged. He sat down. "The urgent payment is one piece," he said. "Martin is not wrong about the larger debt. I know. The old Westbridge office lease, the vendor guarantees, the lake house liens, they are tangled together. Do not turn this into a bedtime story with numbers," I said. "Tell me what bites first." My father looked at me, and for the first time since the collapse, he almost smiled. "You sound like your mother. Then I have a chance." Teresa sat beside him and laid the watch on the table between them. The gold case caught the kitchen light. One small piece of the old West family had come home, and Martin had left without taking another. Victory would have lasted longer. This was breathing room. The ledger appeared near the dining room window. Debt shield condition detected. Urgent family payment accepted. Family dignity restored under hostile pressure. Debt shield unlocked. A cold current moved through me. The system had watched the room. It had not cared that Martin was family. It cared that I had paid under pressure and changed the power in the room. The prompt shifted. "Debt shield. Bonus processed." Status drive mission unlocked. Restore visible mobility within 24 hours. Approved restricted status budget, $150,000. Failure locks next multiplier tier. I stared at the words until they burned into focus. Visible mobility. The system was not asking whether my family felt better. It was asking whether the world could still see me arrive. Sick logic. Correct logic. In Lakebridge, people did not check your balance before deciding your rank. They checked what door you stepped out of, who stood beside you, and whether you looked ashamed when they recognized you. Bryce had used a rented car because he understood the rule. Now the ledger was handing me a better one. Sophie noticed my face. "You are doing the weird thing again." "What weird thing?" "The thing where you look like you are reading bad news in the air." Teresa turned sharply. "Julian!" I blinked the ledger away. "I need a car." Alan laughed once, not because it was funny. "That is your conclusion?" Sophie pointed at the boxes. "We just survived Uncle Martin by 20 minutes, and your next move is a car?" "Not a car," I said. "A public correction." Teresa folded her hands around the watch. "Explain that like a son and not like a headline." I looked at my father first. Martin walked out thinking the money was a fluke. Bryce is telling campus I am finished. Graham and Theo are laughing because they think I cannot pay for dinner, let alone my family. If I hide after this, every one of them gets to call today a lucky twitch. Sophie said, and if you show up in a car, then they have to update the insult. Alan's face tightened. He understood status better than anyone in the house. Westbridge had not grown because my father had the best brochures. It grew because people trusted the image before they read the contract. Teresa did not like it. I did not blame her. Mothers prefer safety until safety starts looking like surrender. Do not gamble your life to impress trash, she said. I am not impressing them, I said. I am teaching them the cost of misreading me. Sophie stared at me. That sounds unhealthy. It is, I said. But it has momentum. My phone buzzed. Maya, did you get home okay? I looked at the message and felt the fresh weight of what I had built in one day. Maya had stood beside me in the luxury store. My mother had just taken back the watch. Martin had left with his first loss. The ledger had turned family pressure into a car countdown. Payoff, reaction, consequence, pressure. The day had become a machine. I typed back. Family is okay for tonight. Maya answered fast. Maya, for tonight is doing a lot of work. She was right. For tonight was a bandage over a bite. Alan's phone buzzed again. He checked it and looked tired in a way I hated. Martin already sent something? I asked. No, Alan said. Jonah Beck. He heard rumors. Asked if I knew you were suddenly buying things. Jonah. One of the few old circle names that had not sent a skull emoji when my life cracked. I held out my hand. Send me his number. Teresa's eyes sharpened. Julian. Not tonight, I said. Tonight I buy the car. Sophie groaned. That sentence is still insane. No, I said. Insane was letting people think the West family could be cornered quietly. Outside, Martin's car engine started at the curb. He sat there for a few seconds before pulling away, probably composing a new threat in his head. Let him. He had come to our house to watch my parents fold. He left with money cleared, my mother standing tall, my sister insulting him to his face, and me holding a glowing countdown only I could see. Status drive remaining time, 23 hours, 48 minutes. The next arena would not be our dining room. It would be a showroom. And whoever judged me at the door was about to buy himself the most expensive mistake of his shift. The status drive countdown was still hanging in my vision when Maya Lennox climbed into the cheapest rideshare I could find and asked the correct question. Why am I coming to a car showroom with you? Because if I walk in alone, I said, they will think I am shopping for attention. Maya looked at my hoodie, then at the app showing our destination. And if you walk in with me, they will think I am shopping for attention with witnesses. That is not better. It is for me. She studied my face for a second. Maya had accepted an expensive bag from me in front of Kara and Bryce, but she was not stupid enough to mistake the gift for a leash. That was part of the reason the ledger liked her. She could be pleased and suspicious at the same time. Julian, she said, if this is another public revenge scene, tell me before I accidentally become decoration. You are not decoration. That was not the answer. I looked out the window as the rideshare turned toward the showroom district. I need visible mobility before people decide yesterday was a rumor. You said Bryce cropped the rental tag. That kind of lie works until something louder parks beside it. Maya leaned back. So, a car is your argument? No, I said. A car is the punctuation. She laughed despite herself. That is deeply annoying. I am trying to make it profitable too. She did not know how literal that was. Hudson Crest Motors sat behind glass walls and silver pillars, the kind of place that made every vehicle look like it had been raised indoors and fed compliments. My old life knew places like this. The old Julian would have walked in with a credit line, a bored smile, and someone already waiting with water. The new Julian stepped out of a rideshare with Maya beside him and a countdown in his eyes. Status drive remaining time, 22 hours, 16 minutes. Approved restricted status budget, $150,000. Visible mobility required. The doors opened with a soft hiss. For 3 seconds, nobody came over. 3 seconds of silence became the first test. A salesman near the front desk looked at me, then at Maya, then at my shoes. His badge read, Vince Doran. He smiled like he had found a joke before lunch. Can I help you two find something for a photo? Vince asked. Maya's eyebrows went up. I smiled back. No, I need someone competent. Vince blinked. Excuse me? You heard me. The showroom got a little quieter. Not silent, just quieter in the way polished places get when money might become conflict. Vince walked over slowly, still smiling. We do not do student joyrides. Insurance gets touchy. I did not ask to joyride. Sure, he looked at Maya. Your friend can take pictures near the electric GT if that is the goal. The lighting is good. Maya's voice cooled. I did not ask for lighting. Vince's smile shifted toward her. No offense meant. Then stop aiming it. I almost laughed. Maya did not need me to defend her from every little cut. That made defending her more enjoyable when it counted. Another voice came from behind a display car. I can help them. Sienna Marsh stepped into view with a tablet in one hand and the posture of someone who had learned to stay professional around men who mistook patience for permission. Vince turned. Sienna, I have it. No, I said, she has it. Vince looked back at me. You have not even seen inventory. I have seen enough service. Sienna paused just long enough to understand the room. Then she smiled at Maya first, not me. Welcome to Hudson Crest Motors. Are you looking for a specific model or a specific outcome? Sienna had beaten Vince's whole morning in one sentence. A specific outcome, I said. I want a status car that can leave today. Vince laughed. Leave today? With what financing? I kept my eyes on Sienna. Can that electric GT be sold today? Sienna glanced at the car on the center platform. Yes, it is available. Price? $142,000 before final fees. Maya turned to me. Julian. Vince made a little noise. See, even she knows. I looked at Maya. You can tell me this is stupid. This is stupid. Good, stay honest. Then I looked back at Sienna. Write it under your sale. Vince stepped closer. Hold on, you cannot just walk in here and assign commission because you are upset. I can if I am the buyer. You are not the buyer, Sienna said. Vince, he ignored her. I know who you are, Julian West. Your family's company folded. Your family's company folded. You got dumped yesterday, and now you are in here trying to rent dignity for the afternoon. There it was again. The world was full of men who could not resist handing me handles. The ledger flickered. Hostile status pressure detected. Status drive eligible. I let Vince finish because villains always think the second insult makes them taller. He pointed at the car. That is not a hoodie car. That is not a scholarship car. That is not a breakup rebound car. If you want to impress your girlfriend, start with something that does not require a payment you cannot fake. Maya's face hardened. Sienna's jaw tightened. I said, are you done donating your commission to your ego? Vince's smile vanished. What? I turned to Sienna. Payment in full, today. Sienna held my gaze for one beat. A marker appeared beside her shoulder. Sienna Marsh, affinity, 64, eligible, professional respect apparently counted, useful. Sienna did not ask if I was serious. She did not make a face at my hoodie. She did not look at Maya like the woman beside me explained my wallet. She simply turned the tablet toward me. If the funds clear, Sienna said, I can have temporary delivery ready within the hour. Vince barked a laugh. If... I put my card on the tablet reader. For one sharp second, I thought of my mother at the dining table, telling Martin to get out. I thought of Sophie calling me unhealthy. I thought of Alan asking whether the money was dangerous. They were all right. I tapped. Approved. Sienna's tablet chirped. Vince's face froze so completely it looked like the showroom had paused him. Maya exhaled through her nose and looked away, but I caught the edge of a smile before she hit it. The ledger flashed. Status drive. Purchase accepted. Visible mobility condition met. Restricted budget applied. Status drive completion pending delivery. Vince stepped towards Sienna's tablet. That cannot be right. Sienna angled it away from him. It cleared. Run it again. No, she said. The sale is under my name. That line hit Vince harder than the approval. A car sale he had laughed away had landed in another salesperson's hands because he could not stop performing superiority for 30 seconds. Beautiful. I looked at him. You sold your commission to your ego. I hope the ego has benefits. A receptionist at the front desk lowered her head. She was smiling. Vince saw it and turned red. This is not over. No, I said. It is just not yours. Sienna guided us to a seating area, but she kept the process short because I did not let it become the story. A signature here. A confirmation there. No car specs, no brochure sermon, no lecture about charging. The only detail that mattered was the key card sliding across the table into my hand while Vince stood 20 feet away pretending not to watch. Maya picked up the key card before I could. It is real, she said. Disappointed? Concerned? Same family. She gave the key back. You are doing all of this too fast. I know. That was not me approving it. I know that too. Sienna returned with a small delivery folder and 2 bottled waters. She placed the water in front of Maya first again. Maya noticed. So did I, Sienna said. The vehicle will be ready at the east exit. Congratulations, Mr. West. Julian, I said. Maya's eyes moved to me. Sienna's smile stayed professional, but the marker beside her shoulder pulsed. Sienna Marsh. Affinity, 67, still eligible. Maya set her water down harder than necessary. Not loud, just enough. Sienna looked at her and understood something I did not need private thoughts to see. Competition had entered the room in a suit jacket and good manners. Vince chose that moment to make his day worse. He walked over with a manager smile and no manager authority. Sienna, I will take the delivery from here. Sienna looked at him. It is my sale. You are new and still able to tell when a buyer is buying. The receptionist made another strangled sound. I leaned back. Vince, if you want to stand near my car, buy a ticket. Maya covered her mouth. Vince's face went from red to flat white. You think one car fixes bankruptcy? No, I said. But it clearly ruins your morning. Sienna handed me the final key card. East exit is ready. We walked past Vince without stopping. The electric GT waited under the exit awning, all black glass and quiet menace. Not flashy in the childish way Bryce liked. Better, it looked expensive without begging strangers to notice. Maya stopped beside it. This is not borrowed, she said. No, not rented, no, not your friends. I try not to copy Bryce's business model. She laughed, then stopped when Sienna stepped beside us. Sienna said, You can drive out now. I included my direct contact in case you need anything with delivery or service. Maya took half a step closer to me. Sienna saw that too. Her smile remained perfect. I took the card from Sienna. You handled that cleanly. Vince makes it easy to look professional, Sienna said. Does he always act like that? Only when he thinks someone cannot punish him. That answer was almost too tailored for the ledger. Vince appeared near the glass doors, watching us from inside. His arms were crossed, but he no longer looked like a gatekeeper. He looked like a man outside a party he had thrown. I looked back through the glass and raised the key card. Not a wave, a receipt. Then I opened the driver's door. The ledger flashed again. Status drive completed. Visible status restored. Available balance adjusted, $812,441.38. Next capital branch, available after public business commitment. I gripped the door. 812,000. The number should have made me feel safe. It did not. It made the next risk obvious. Maya slid into the passenger seat and looked at the dashboard like it might bite her. Julian. Yes, I saw your face change. Good change or bad change? Expensive change. That is becoming a theme. She turned toward me. Is Sienna part of the theme? I glanced through the windshield. Sienna was still under the awning, professional smile fading into something more complicated as we pulled away. I bought a car, I said. Maya gave me a flat look. Do not insult me by pretending you only noticed the car. Fair. I noticed she did not treat me like a joke, I said. That is rare right now. Maya looked out the window. Rare things attract you? Useful things attract me. She laughed once, but it did not sound happy. That was honest in the worst possible way. I drove out of Hudson Crest Motors before she could decide whether to be angry. The car was silent enough to make my thoughts loud. We passed Vince through the glass, and the last thing I saw was him saying something sharp to Sienna while she held her tablet like a shield. That would matter later. At that moment, the car mattered first. When we reached Brighton State University, I did not park far away like a man hiding a stunt. I took a visible spot near the main walkway, the kind of spot Bryce would have circled twice hoping someone watched. The doors lifted with a soft electric click. Students turned, not all of them. Enough. One guy near the curb recognized me and stopped mid-sentence. Maya stepped out on the passenger side with the bag from yesterday still on her shoulder. That was not an accident. She had chosen it before leaving, and the choice was public now. A black electric GT. The same fallen West boy. The replacement woman carrying the luxury bag Bryce could not buy. The rumor had to bend around that. Then Ryder Galt walked out of the campus gym with a towel around his neck and a phone in his hand. Ryder was not in my closest circle. He was worse. He was Orbit Wealth. Always nearby when money moved, always slightly too loud about his family's properties, always ready to laugh if someone above him fell. He looked at the car, then at me, then at Maya, his mouth curled. No way. I closed the driver's door. Good afternoon to you too. Ryder walked closer. Whose is it? Mine. Sure. And Bryce owns his Porsche. Maya's expression sharpened. Ryder saw her bag and smirked. Maya, you have terrible timing. This guy is renting an image while his dad ducks creditors. I let the insult sit. The old Julian might have defended my father. The new Julian had learned that some men expose themselves faster when you give them room. Ryder pointed at the car. Show us the registration. No. A few students had slowed down now. Ryder liked that. He needed a small audience the way Bryce needed a rental. No, he said. Then it is fake, I smiled. Ryder, you are not police, finance, or family. You are just curious with shoulders. Maya coughed into her hand. Ryder's face tightened. You think you are back because you got a car? No, I said. I think you are upset because you have to ask. That got him. He looked at the car again, and I watched the calculation crawl across his face. If he called it fake and it stayed visible, he looked small. If he accepted it, I looked back. He chose the only move men like him know. Enjoy it while you can, Ryder said. People like you always spend the last money loud. Then listen carefully. Maya grabbed my sleeve before I could step closer. Not to stop me because she was scared, to remind me she was there. That one touch changed the moment. Ryder noticed and smirked at her. Careful, Maya. Kara got off the sinking ship early, Maya said. Kara climbed into a rental. The students nearby heard that. Ryder's smile faltered. I opened the passenger door for Maya again. We are done here, Ryder called after me. You cannot fake your way back into the lantern room, Julian. My phone buzzed before I answered him. Jonah Beck, heard you are moving again. Private table tonight at the lantern room. I have a lounge investment that needs someone with control money, not gossip money. You in? I looked from the message to Ryder. Then I smiled. What is funny? Ryder asked. Timing. Maya leaned toward the phone and read Jonah's name. Yo him! One of the few old friends who did not send a skull emoji. Ryder saw the screen from a distance, not the words, but he saw enough to hate being excluded. I got into the car. Maya slid in beside me. As I pulled away, Ryder lifted his phone like he was already deciding what rumor could survive the sight of my taillights. Let him try. The car mission had paid. Vince had lost commission. Sienna had entered the ledger's orbit. Maya had started measuring the distance between loyalty and jealousy. Ryder had seen enough to make himself a future problem, and Jonah had just opened the next room. If the showroom had been about restoring a rival, the lantern room would be about controlling the table. The old circle thought bankruptcy had made me safe to laugh at. By midnight, I wanted them counting the cost of every joke. I went to the lantern room in plain clothes because I wanted Graham Sykes and Theo Morrow to feel safe. Expensive clothes make parasites cautious. A hoodie makes them honest. The electric GT was parked outside, visible from the front windows, but I did not hand them that first. Letting men like Graham and Theo discover a status object too early was wasteful. They would adjust their faces, change their tone, and pretend they had always believed in me. I wanted the raw version. Jonah Beck met me near the staircase to the private level. He was still built like a man who played sports badly but paid attention well. Back when Westbridge Travel Group hosted donor dinners, Jonah had been one of the few people who asked my father real questions instead of just eating the shrimp and making future promises. He looked me over once. You either got humble or strategic. Strategic, I said. Good, humble would be alarming. That was the voice I had come for. The lantern room smelled like polished wood, citrus, and quiet money. Last semester, Graham and Theo would have waited for me near the best table and let me order first because my card made everyone else's taste look expensive. That night, they sat with Jonah and two unnamed investors, laughing before I reached them. Graham saw me first. He spread both arms. The comeback tour has a wardrobe issue. Theo looked past me. No, Maya? No luxury badge shield? I sat across from them. You two rehearsed? Graham grinned. We had time. You stopped paying for group dinners, so our evenings opened up. Jonah did not laugh. That told me plenty. He slid a short packet across the table, but I did not touch it yet. Paper was not the point. The people around the paper were. Jonah said, the space under this place is opening for a lounge. Small, controlled, good foot traffic, private event potential. I need capital that does not panic in week 2. Graham leaned back. Translation, he needs someone who can write a check. Theo looked at me. So why is Julian here? Emotional support? One of the unnamed investors smiled into his drink. There it was, the room's first vote. I let it pass over me. Jonah watched me carefully. I invited Julian because he understands the crowd. Graham laughed. He understood the crowd when he had his father's money. Different subject now. I turned to Graham. Do you have capital? His smile stayed. I have sense. That is why I am not throwing money at nightlife while your family name is still smoking. Theo lifted his glass. To sense. They drank to not risking anything while sitting at a table built by people who did. Jonah tapped the packet. I am not asking for charity. 700,000 gives control, build out, launch, and enough cushion to avoid begging the first month. 700,000, Graham repeated, then looked at me with theatrical pity. Julian, blink twice if hearing that number hurt. It did, I said. Theo laughed. At least he is honest. It hurt because Jonah asked too little for control. The table quieted a fraction. Jonah's eyes sharpened. Graham tilted his head. Control? You are adorable. I looked at Jonah. What does controlling money buy? Jonah answered immediately. Final say on build-out, vendor selection, private event calendar, profit waterfall, and exit timing. That was enough business talk to make the choice concrete, not enough to turn the scene into homework. Graham put his glass down. You are all talking like this is real. Julian, last week Theo had to cover your tab. Theo corrected him. 2 tabs. True, Graham said. 2 tabs, my mistake. I smiled. You kept count? Debt is educational. Good, I said. Then tonight should be a seminar. Graham's smile flickered, but he recovered fast. You are not putting in 700,000. You are putting on a show because Kara embarrassed you and Bryce made it public. There was the name. Bryce, still useful without being in the room. The ledger flickered at the edge of my vision, but it did not open. Hate rebate liked direct hostile pressure, but this was not the same as the boutique. This was not a lover's comparison. It was hierarchy. Old friends wanted to know whether I still had a seat. I had a better question. Who deserved to sit near me when the money landed? I turned to Theo. Do you want in? Theo blinked. With what? Sympathy, capital, risk, work, any adult contribution, he scoffed. I am not lighting money on fire for a lounge because Jonah found a basement and you found a mood swing. I looked at Graham. You? Graham raised his hands. I like living. Good. Then you both made clean choices. Graham leaned forward. What does that mean? It means neither of you gets to pretend you were pushed out. I picked up my phone. Jonah sat still. Graham's smile died halfway. Theo said, no way. I opened the transfer screen. No pitch, no defense, no speech about friendship. The table had already told me who belonged in the room. I confirmed Jonah's account and entered the number. $700,000. For 1 second, my thumb hovered. That amount was larger than every sane choice I had made before the ledger. It was almost all the usable cash status drive had thrown into my hands. If the next branch did not catch me, I would still own a car and a bag story, but my family would be standing in front of Martin's next threat with less cash than I wanted. Then Graham whispered, he is bluffing. He should have let my fear work. I tapped send. Jonah's phone buzzed first. Not mine. His. That mattered. The proof was in the hand of the man receiving control money. Jonah looked at the screen. His whole face changed. Not shock for show. Calculation. Respect. Alarm. The clean kind. Received, he said. Theo's glass stopped halfway to his mouth. Graham stared at Jonah. What? Jonah turned the phone so the table could see enough without making it a circus. 700,000! The unnamed investor stopped smiling. I leaned back. Control money, I said. Not gossip money. Graham's face went through 3 failed expressions. Humor first, disbelief second, then a sharp little fear that he hid by standing up. I have another thing, he said. No, you do not, I said. He froze. You have an exit, I said. Use the correct word. Theo stood too. This got weird. It got expensive, I said. You are confusing the two because you are not involved anymore. Jonah did not stop them. That was his own useful choice. Graham looked at Jonah. You are seriously doing business with him? Jonah held his phone on the table. He just did business with me, Theo muttered. This is stupid. Then you are lucky you declined, I said. They left one by one, but not with the clean swagger they had entered with. Graham checked the electric GT through the window on his way out and realized the car outside had not been decoration. Theo followed him, phone already in hand, probably searching for a rumor that could fit around a transfer notification. Then Graham made one last mistake. He came back 3 steps, put on the friendly face he used when he wanted a seat after mocking the host, and said, for the record, I was joking. You know how we talk. No, I said. I know how you talk when you think the check is dead. His mouth opened. I pointed at the empty chair. That seat is gone. Theo looked from Graham to Jonah. Seriously? Jonah did not look at him. You both declined. The unnamed investors heard that. The host at the stair rail heard that. Graham and Theo were not just leaving embarrassed, they were leaving with a clean business record of their own cowardice. That mattered. Access loss beats regret every time. Let them search for a rumor after that. The ledger opened. Public capital commitment confirmed. Parasite exclusion detected. Branch unlocked. Venture multiplier. Business investments tied to control, assets, and public leverage may generate amplified returns. 1 week qualifying window opened. The words sat in the air above Jonah's phone. Venture multiplier. There it was, the next capital branch. Not gifts, not cars, not family debt, assets. The system had waited until money changed hierarchy in public before naming the door. Jonah said, You want to tell me where that came from? No. Fair. You still want it? He almost smiled. More now. That answer separated him from Graham and Theo forever. One of the unnamed investors leaned toward Jonah. Are they really out? I answered before Jonah could soften it. They were out when they laughed at risk and waited for someone else to pay for the table. The investor looked at Jonah. Jonah nodded once. They are out. Exactly! A transfer was only money if it did not change access. I had not bought a lounge stake so Graham could arrive later with a grin and call himself family. The first rule of my new capital was simple. Parasites did not get grandfathered in. I pointed at the empty chairs. Do not let them back in later because nostalgia gets drunk. Jonah's face turned serious. They were never taking risk. They just liked sitting near risk when someone else paid. Exactly. What do you want from the investment? Control where it matters, clean books where it protects you, and no parasites at the opening table. Jonah nodded. That is doable. I heard the words, but the ledger was already pulling my attention toward the next condition. Qualifying window, public leverage, assets. A week. A longer game had opened, and it came with a clock. Then a familiar voice cut through the lower floor. That is him? I looked past Jonah toward the staircase. Sienna Marsh had just entered the lantern room with Nate Greer beside her. I had not invited her. She was still wearing the clean showroom blouse from Hudson Crest Motors, and Nate had the posture of a man who wanted the room to know he had paid for something before anyone asked. He looked at Sienna, then at me near the private stairs, then back at Sienna. You know him? Nate asked. Sienna kept her voice even. He bought the electric GT today. Nate laughed once. That kid? Sienna's eyes moved to the window, where the car sat under the front lights. Nate followed her gaze. His laugh died. I did not need the ledger to read that reaction. Men are simple when comparison walks into a room and parks outside. Nate stepped closer to Sienna. You did not tell me the buyer was him. Sienna's jaw tightened. I told you I had a major sale. You did not say Julian West. His name was not your business. Nate's eyes sharpened. You smiled when you said major sale. The accusation was stupid enough to sting everyone near it. Sienna's face changed. Not guilt, exhaustion. I stood. Jonah murmured, Careful. Always, I lied. I came down the stairs slowly because walking fast would have made Nate feel important. Sienna saw me approach and gave a small professional nod. Mr. West. Julian, I said. Nate looked me up and down. So you are the cash buyer miracle? No, I said. I am the customer your girlfriend did not insult. Sienna's eyes flicked to me. That line landed somewhere it needed to land. Nate stepped in front of her half an inch. Watch your mouth. I looked at the tiny movement. Does standing in her way usually make you feel taller? A bartender glanced over. A couple near the host stand went quiet. The lantern room did what expensive rooms do when ugliness appears. It pretended not to watch while watching perfectly. Sienna said, Nate, stop. He ignored her and pointed toward the window. You think buying a car makes you better than people? No, I said. Watching people react to the car handles that for me? Jonah made a low sound behind me that might have been a laugh. Nate's face reddened. She works at a dealership. Men flirt with saleswomen. That does not make you special, Sienna said. He did not flirt with me. The defense was dangerous because it was true, and Nate hated truth more when it did not kneel. Nate turned on her. So what, he respected you and now I am supposed to clap? Sienna's voice dropped. You are supposed to not make my job sound dirty because another man treated it seriously. That line hit harder than anything I had said. Nate looked around and realized people had heard. His pride searched for the nearest throat. Mine was convenient. He stepped toward me. Stay away from her. I smiled. You brought her here. Do not play smart. I am not playing. Sienna touched Nate's arm. We are leaving. He pulled away from her touch like it embarrassed him. That small rejection changed the air between them. Sienna's face closed. Good. Not because I wanted her hurt, but because the truth had finally stopped hiding in politeness. The ledger marker appeared near her shoulder again. Sienna Marsh, Affinity, 69, eligible. Nate saw my eyes shift toward her and misread it with impressive speed. There it is, he said. You look at her like she is already yours, Sienna snapped. Do not talk about me like I am a car. I almost respected the timing. Nate did not. He looked at the window again, at the car, at Jonah upstairs, at the room that had gone too quiet for him to win cleanly. His hand tightened around the flowers he had brought for Sienna. I had not noticed them before. Grocery store flowers, crushed at the stems. That detail told the whole relationship. He wanted credit for the gesture and control over the woman receiving it. Sienna looked at the flowers too. Her expression did not soften. Nate noticed. Humiliation turned his ears red. He shoved the flowers at her. Let's go. Sienna did not take them. The flowers hung there between them like a cheap apology with thorns. Nate's eyes found me again, because men like him need someone else to blame when a woman refuses to play grateful. You did this, he said. No, I said. I bought a car. Jonah stepped down one stair behind me. And a business stake. Jonah did not say it by accident. He made sure Nate, Sienna, and the watching room heard every word. Sienna looked at me. Nate looked at me too, but his expression changed from jealous to something nastier. Business stake, he said. The venture multiplier prompt glowed beside my vision like a dare. I kept my voice light. Some people sell commission, some people buy control. Sienna's gaze stayed on me one beat too long. Nate saw that and lost the last bit of restraint he had pretended to own. He threw the flowers into the nearest trash can. The room heard the stems crack. Sienna flinched, not a dramatic flinch. A tired one. That was enough. She turned toward the exit without taking his arm. I am going home. Nate followed immediately. Sienna. She did not stop. He shot me one last look. This is not over. I believed him. He had just lost face in a room where he wanted to look bigger than her job, bigger than me, bigger than the car outside and the transfer upstairs. Men like that do not cool down. They find a smaller room and hit the wrong target. The ledger pulsed. Venture multiplier window active. First qualifying asset must create public leverage within 7 days. I looked at Sienna walking out ahead of Nate, shoulders straight but tight. The next asset was not going to be some quiet spreadsheet. It had a face. It had a job. And it had a jealous man following her into the night already looking for someone to blame. Nate Greer followed Sienna Marsh out of the lantern room like a man chasing the last clean version of himself. By lunch the next day he was already 2 tables away at Astor Grill, pretending the menu mattered while Sienna sat across from me with her phone face down and her shoulders too straight. Jealousy had followed her into lunch and ordered a table 2 booths away. Sienna saw him before I did. Her eyes moved past my shoulder, then came back fast. You did not invite him, I said. No, Sienna said. But he has been texting since last night. When I stopped answering, he started guessing. Nate is good at guessing wrong. Useful skill, dangerous hobby. She did not laugh. That told me where the bruise was. The venture multiplier prompt still sat in the corner of my vision like an unpaid dare. 1 week qualifying window active. Business investments tied to control, assets, and public leverage may generate amplified returns. I had 7 days to turn money into something that could not be laughed away. The clean option would have been Jonah's lounge. Quiet capital, controlled paperwork, men shaking hands around a table. The ledger did not reward quiet when humiliation was available. Sienna folded her hands around her water glass. I wanted to apologize for last night. Nate should not have said any of that. Did you say it? No. Then do not spend your lunch paying his bill. Her fingers tightened on the glass. It still touched my job. Russell already heard about it. Russell Ford? My manager. Her mouth twisted. The kind who calls himself a mentor when nobody asked to be mentored. That description was so useful it almost glowed. Nate shifted in the booth behind me. I heard the squeak of leather, the soft scrape of his fork, the little non-sound men make when they want someone to notice they are not losing. Sienna heard it too. He thinks I embarrassed him, she said. You did. Her eyes snapped up. I added, by having a job another man respected. Some men survive disrespect better than respect. For 1 second, Sienna looked like she might smile. Then the front door opened and the whole scene found a worse person. Russell Ford walked into Astor Grill in a gray jacket, no tie, and the relaxed face of a man who had used authority so often he mistook it for charm. He spotted Sienna immediately. He did not look surprised. That mattered. Sienna whispered. No. Russell came straight to our booth. He looked at me, then at Sienna, then at the empty space beside her. Sienna, Russell said, you forgot we needed to discuss last night's little showroom reputation problem. Sienna's voice stayed professional. I did not forget. I said I was on lunch, and I said your lunch involved a major client. He slid into the booth beside her without asking. Too close, deliberately close. His arms stretched along the back of the seat, not touching her, but claiming the inches around her like property. Across the room, Nate's fork stopped moving. Russell smiled at me. Julian West, the cash buyer miracle. I should thank you. You gave our monthly board something exciting to look at. You can thank Sienna, I said. She made the sale. His smile thinned. That is exactly what I am here to discuss. A new salesperson does not get to turn a one-time client into a private channel. The dealership has structure. Structure, I said. Nice word. Sounds cleaner than control. Sienna's knees shifted under the table. She was trying not to react because Russell was the kind of man who collected reactions and called them proof. Russell turned to her. You see what I mean? He talks like this because you let him think he has special access to you. Sienna sat very still. He bought a car. He has service access. That is all. Then why are you here? Because I am off the clock. Russell leaned closer. Off the clock is a phrase people use when they have enough sales to be safe. There it was. Workplace authority sharpened into personal leverage. Nate stood up before I could say anything. He crossed the room fast enough that 2 servers stepped back. His eyes were on Russell's arm along the booth, not on me. He had followed Sienna because of me, but Russell had made himself easier to hit. Sienna saw Nate coming and said, "Do not." Nate did not hear her, or he heard and liked ignoring it. He reached the table and snapped, "Get away from her." Russell looked over his shoulder with lazy annoyance. "And you are?" "Her boyfriend," Sienna said. "Nate, stop!" Russell looked from Nate to Sienna and gave a small laugh. This explains the flowers in the trash. Wrong line. Wrong man. Wrong room. Nate swung. He did not hit me. He hit Russell Ford in the mouth. The sound cracked across Astor Grill like a dropped plate. Russell slid sideways in the booth, one hand flying to his lip. Sienna jumped up so fast her chair hit the floor. A server gasped and then froze with both hands in the air. Nate stood over Russell, breathing hard, proud for about half a second. Then Russell lowered his hand, saw blood on his fingers, and smiled. Not because he was brave, because Nate had just handed him a weapon with witnesses. You idiot, Russell said. Nate's face changed. He realized he had not struck the rich rival. He had struck Sienna's manager in a public restaurant. That was the kind of mistake that keeps working after the fist stops. Sienna said, Nate, what did you do? He turned on her. What did I do? He was sitting on top of you. He is my manager. Then your manager needs manners. Russell dabbed his lip with a napkin and looked at Sienna with new, ugly satisfaction. You brought this into my workplace. This is not the showroom, Sienna said. Your judgment is the showroom. Russell stood, still holding the napkin. Your client drama, your boyfriend drama, your little private lunches with buyers. Do you know how easy it is to move a salesperson off premium leads? Sienna's face lost color. Nate finally looked scared. I hit you, not her. Russell laughed through the blood. You think this helps her? That line did more damage than the punch. The restaurant manager approached, but I held up one hand before the scene became policy, police, and apologies. Process would only save Russell's pride and bury Sienna in statements. I looked at Sienna. Get your bag. Russell's eyes cut to me. This is not your business. That is where you keep making mistakes, I said. Nate stepped toward me. Do not talk to him like you own the room. Nate, Sienna said, sharper this time. You lost the right to narrate this. That stopped him. Not long, but enough. Sienna grabbed her bag. I stood and placed cash on the table for food we had barely touched. Russell watched me pay with one hand still at his mouth. Walking her out will not fix her schedule, Russell said. No, I said, but it will improve her company. A couple near the window heard that and looked down at their plates to hide a smile. Russell saw the reaction. His eyes went hard. Sienna, he said, using her name like a leash. You leave with him right now and tomorrow morning gets difficult. Sienna stopped. Russell's threat landed harder than the punch. Nate's fist had made noise. Russell's threat made a future. I stepped beside her, not in front of her. Your choice. She looked at Nate first. His face still begged her to make his violence feel protective. Then she looked at Russell. His face told her the job would punish her either way. Then she looked at me. I am leaving, she said. Good. She had not chosen me. She had chosen the door. We walked out before the restaurant could dress the mess in official language. Nate called her name once, but she did not turn. Russell called after her too, quieter and nastier. Tomorrow, Sienna, 8 sharp. Outside, the air hit cold. Sienna crossed the sidewalk with both hands shaking. She stopped near the curb and laughed once, the kind of laugh that comes out when a person refuses to cry in public. That is my life, she said. My boyfriend breaks things. My manager files the damage under my name. Ex-boyfriend, I said. She looked at me. Too soon? No, she said. Too accurate. The marker beside her shoulder pulsed. Sienna Marsh. Affinity, 72. Eligible. The number had moved because I had not saved her with a speech. I had given her a way out of the scene before both men could turn her into the prize or the problem. Useful lesson. Dangerous lesson. I opened the passenger door of the electric GT. Get in. She hesitated. Julian. Not as rescue theater. As transportation. You can yell at me in motion. That almost got a real smile. She got in. I drove 3 blocks before either of us spoke. Astor Grill disappeared behind us, but the mess did not. Russell's blood, Nate's panic, Sienna's job threat, the ledger's window. All of it followed like smoke. Sienna looked out the window. When I was 19, I wanted to run a cafe. I glanced at her. That is specific, because my aunt worked mornings at one. People came in half dead and left human. I liked that. I liked clean counters, regular customers, tips that actually reached the staff. She rubbed her thumb over the side of her phone. Then rent got real. Car sales paid faster. Men like Russell learned that ambition makes people easy to corner. There it was, not a decoration, a target. I asked. If nobody owned your schedule, what would you build? Sienna looked at me like the question was rude and how direct it was. A small cafe near campus. Breakfast, coffee, late study hours. No manager leaning into booths because he controls commissions. How much? Do not. That was not a number. Because numbers make offers real. Good. I hate fake offers. She turned toward me. I am not a project. No, I said. Projects wait for permission. You just walked out under threat. That is an asset with legs. That is a terrible compliment. It was a business assessment. The compliment would be worse. She laughed then, one short break in the pressure. The venture multiplier prompt brightened. Potential qualifying asset path detected. Career rescue may qualify if tied to control, public leverage, and independent revenue. I did not let myself stare too long. I parked near a quiet curb, engine still on, and faced her. Here's the offer, I said. Capital for the cafe, salary so Russell cannot starve you back into the showroom, authority over staff, clean books, no boyfriend approval, no manager leaning over your shoulder. Sienna swallowed. And what do you get? Control stake, profit, public leverage, a business that proves my money is not just bags and cars. Her eyes sharpened. And me? I did not soften the answer. Soft lies had ruined enough people around me. If you want in, you become the manager because you can run it. If you do not want in, you walk away and I do not chase you through restaurants like Nate. She looked out the windshield. For once, silence had value. Then she said, dependence is dangerous. Yes. You agree too fast. Because it is true. Take time. Think before you let my money near your life. The words were almost decent. The ledger, naturally, made them profitable. Sienna's marker rose again. Affinity, 74. She saw my face shift and narrowed her eyes. You do that sometimes, like you are seeing an answer nobody else can see. I am good at timing. That was not an answer. It was a warning label. Sienna's phone buzzed again before she could answer. This time it was Nate. She stared at the screen until the call died. Then the voicemail preview appeared without mercy. Nate, I did that because he was touching you. Do not let Julian twist this into my fault. Sienna read it once. Then she turned the phone toward me. That, she said, is why dependence is dangerous. It always comes with a narrator. Delete it if you want silence, I said. Save it if you want proof for yourself later. For myself? Not for a case, not for drama, for the version of you that wakes up tomorrow and wonders if he only made one mistake. She looked at the message again. Then she locked the phone without replying. That choice was small, but it moved something. She did not defend him. She did not soothe him. She did not apologize for getting hit by the consequence of his fist. Sienna looked out through the windshield at the street, and her voice came out steadier. If I ever run a cafe, she said, I want the staff to know one rule first. Nobody gets to make their bad mood someone else's rent. Then that is rule 1, I said. You are agreeing before you see numbers again. I heard the rule. The numbers can catch up. For the first time since Astor Grill, her shoulders lowered. Not relaxed, less owned. Her phone buzzed before she could push. She looked at the screen. The color drained from her face, then came back hotter. Russell, I asked. She turned the phone so I could read it. Russell Premium leads frozen for 30 days. You will support floor traffic only. We will revisit your judgment after you remember who protects your commissions. No hearing, no paperwork, no formal punishment, just power used fast and dirty. Sienna's hand closed around the phone. He did not even wait until tomorrow. No, I said. He wanted you scared before dinner. She looked up from the message. The hesitation from 5 minutes ago was still there, but now it had teeth. If I quit, she said, does your offer still stand? The ledger pulsed. I smiled. Sienna, I said, if you quit after that text, my offer gets cleaner. She stared at me. Can you promise he will not make it worse? No. That answer did not comfort her, but it kept her eyes on mine. I can promise this, I said. If he swings at your future again, I make the swing cost more than the job he thinks he controls. Sienna looked back at the message. Then she saved it, locked the phone, and placed it face down between us. Then I need one night to sleep angry, she said. Angry is fine, I said. Just do not wake up obedient. Russell had tried to punish her into obedience. He had also put that price in writing. Instead, he had made my rescue look like the least humiliating option in the room. Sienna was one decision away from leaving Russell's control, and men like Russell never forgive a woman for making their threats useful to someone else. Sienna's text reached me while Maya Lennox stood 6 feet away, holding the bag Breeze could not buy, and wearing the expression of a woman deciding whether jealousy was still cute. Sienna, if I quit, does your offer still stand? Maya saw the name before I lowered the phone. So that is where your face goes now, she said. No greeting, no warm-up, no easy exit. Maya had never been decoration. If she was going to stay near me, she deserved the ugly part of the machine too. We were outside the student center at Brighton State University, and the lunch crowd was thick enough to make every pause feel public. Penny Rourke was 20 steps away at a vending machine, watching with shameless interest and pretending to compare chips. I put the phone away. Russell froze Sienna's sales for a month. She may quit. Maya's jaw tightened. You say that like it is only business. It is business. It is also Nate being jealous, Russell being a creep, and Sienna needing a door that does not lead back to either of them. And you are the door? I am the expensive hallway. Maya did not laugh. I deserved that. Her eyes moved over my face, searching for the old rich boy performance, the easy charm, the harmless joke. The version of me who could make greed sound like generosity. I did not give it to her. Maya, I said, I like useful people. You already know that. That is a horrible thing to say to someone carrying your gift. It is better than lying and calling everyone precious. Her fingers tightened on the bag strap. Am I useful? Yes. The answer hit her hard because I gave it clean. Then I added, you were useful before the ledger ever cared. You defended my father when Graham was laughing at his table. You stayed when Bryce made my collapse public. You told the truth about the rental tag when lying would have kept you comfortable. Useful is not an insult from me, it is a rank. Maya's expression changed, but before she could answer, Kara Finch's voice cut into the space between us. That is adorable! He ranks you now? Kara walked out of the student center with Bryce Klein beside her, because apparently humiliation had not taught either of them the value of distance. Bryce had his phone in his hand. Kara had her eyes on Maya's bag. Penny abandoned the vending machine so fast the chips kept swaying behind the glass. Oh good, Penny said. The rental car department arrived. Bryce's smile twitched. Still loud, Penny? Still not renting confidence, Bryce? Kara ignored Penny and looked directly at Maya. I was actually trying to help you. Julian buys things when he needs a woman to stand near him. First coffee, then bags, then cars, now apparently salesgirls with career problems. Maya went still. The lunch crowd slowed around us. Not a crowd yet. A spill. Enough phones. Enough ears. Bryce lifted his phone slightly, acting like he was only checking messages. Precision had not unlocked yet, but I did not need magic to know he wanted a clip. Kara took one step closer to Maya. Tell me, Maya, does he pay you before or after you defend him? That line should have been aimed at me. It was not. Kara had found the person she could wound without needing a wallet. The ledger flickered, but it did not open. Not yet! The choice belonged to Maya. Maya looked at Kara for a long second, then set the designer bag on the bench beside her. Slowly, deliberately, so nobody could pretend the bag was hiding her. Kara, Maya said, you dumped him with his mother's watch still on your wrist. The nearby conversations died faster than they should have. Kara's face tightened. That is none of your business. You made his breakup public. You let Bryce post the cropped photo. You let people laugh at his family. You do not get privacy now. Bryce stepped in. Careful. Penny pointed at him. The rental car department is speaking. A few students laughed. Bryce hated it. Maya kept her eyes on Kara. You think the bag makes me paid? Fine, I accepted it. I also accepted the insult that came with standing next to him while you two performed. What did you accept, Kara? A passenger seat with a hidden rental tag? Kara's cheeks flushed. Bryce's phone lowered half an inch. Maya picked up the bag again and slid the strap onto her shoulder. Do not call me his replacement like it is an insult. You created the vacancy. I just have better taste in exits. Penny whispered. That was nasty. I love growth. The ledger exploded across my vision. Loyalty under public attack confirmed. Maya Lennox affinity, 90. Branch unlocked, loyalty threshold. Milestone reward available. For a second, I forgot the crowd. 90. Maya had not kissed me, begged me, or promised forever. She had simply chosen my side while Kara tried to make her look bought. The ledger liked loyalty under pressure better than softness in private. That made the system uglier. It also made it consistent. Kara looked at me. Are you enjoying this? Yes, I said. Bryce snapped. At least admit you are using her. I looked at his phone. If you are recording, make sure you include the part where Maya mentioned the watch. Cropping keeps hurting you. Bryce's thumb froze. The crowd saw it. That small freeze was not a major victory, but it made the scene turn. He had wanted a clip of Maya looking paid. Now he had a clip of Kara getting named for the watch and Bryce getting reminded of the rental. He put the phone away. Maya saw that too. Kara grabbed Bryce's sleeve. Let's go. Bryce did not move fast enough, which told everyone the exit was not fully his idea. When they left, Penny clapped once. Maya rounded on her. Do not. Penny lowered both hands. Sorry. Emotionally, I clapped inside. Maya looked back at me. The anger was still there, but now it had a different target. You did not stop me, she said. You were winning. That is not romantic. No, I said. It is respectful. She stared at me long enough to decide whether she hated that answer. Then she stepped close and said quietly, do not make me regret standing there. The ledger flashed again. Loyalty threshold reward package processed. Prize ticket cover generated. Family relief available, $3 million. Qualified spend voucher available, $1 million. Precision mode unlocked. Use heightened timing, negotiation focus, and social read clarity during pressure. The words hit me one line at a time. $3 million for family relief. $1 million voucher for future spend. Precision mode. Not charm, not mind control, not some dirty little joke. Focus. Timing. The ability to see the weak joint in a scene while everyone else was still reacting to noise, it activated before I could celebrate. The campus sounds sharpened, Bryce's retreating footsteps, Kara's uneven breathing, Penny's tiny inhale as she realized Maya had not asked whether she looked foolish, Maya's grip on the bag strap, tight but not trembling. The useful thing got louder. Maya was not asking if I liked Sienna. She was asking whether loyalty had a floor under it. I said, "You just defended me in public, so I owe you an answer before I owe anyone a performance. I am helping Sienna because Russell is squeezing her, Nate is spiraling, and the venture window needs an asset. I am not promising you clean motives. I am promising you I will not lie about dirty ones." Maya's face softened by 1 dangerous inch. "That is still terrible," she said, "but clearer, unfortunately." Penny pointed between us. "I hate to interrupt whatever morally gray flirting this is, but Kara is already pretending she left by choice." I glanced toward the walkway. Kara and Bryce were moving fast but not cleanly. Bryce kept looking at his phone like he needed a better version of the scene. Kara kept touching her bare wrist. Useful. Maya's loyalty had paid. Kara's attack had failed. Bryce had lost another recording. Now the reward had to turn into pressure. My phone buzzed. Sophie West. "Mom is asking if the old company debt is still urgent." Dad said not today. That means yes, right? The 3 million number burned in my mind. I looked at Maya. "I have to go home." She nodded once. "Family." "Yes." "Do you need me there?" A selfish part of me wanted to say yes. The ledger might have rewarded it. The old Julian would have enjoyed showing my parents the woman Kara had failed to shame. Precision mode made the cleaner answer obvious. If I brought Maya into the West house right after a public loyalty fight, the family relief would look like another performance. My parents needed money, not an audience. "No," I said. "This one needs to land without witnesses." Maya accepted that faster than I deserved. Penny looked disappointed. "Fine, but later I want the version with crime and numbers." "You get neither. I will settle for snacks." I left before the moment could become softer than it was useful. At the West House, my father had the old West Bridge travel group folders spread across the dining table again. My mother sat beside him with the Cartier watch on her wrist. Sophie stood near the stairs, pretending not to hover. Teresa looked up first. "You are pale. I have good news," I said. Sophie said, "People usually smile when they say that." "My face is under renovation." Alan looked at me over the folders. "Julian." I placed my phone on the table and opened the prize ticket cover the ledger had created. It looked ordinary because it had to. A winning number. A payout notice. Enough digital proof to give a frightened family something to hold without dragging them through the machinery behind it. "An old prize ticket hit," I said. "I bought it months ago and forgot about it." Teresa stared at the screen. "That is the kind of lie people use in movies." "Then we are finally in a well-funded one." Sophie snatched the phone before my father could. Her eyes widened. "Mom." Alan took the phone next. I watched his face carefully. Precision mode did not read his mind. It did not need to. His eyes went first to the payout amount, then to my face, then to the folder labeled with the old Westbridge office. Not the lake house, not Sophie's boxes, the office. That was the wound he was hiding under the debt. Teresa whispered, "How much can we use?" "Enough to slow the bigger debt, enough to protect Sophie's tuition, enough to stop Martin from enjoying our fear for a while." Sophie made a sound that tried to be a joke and failed. "For a while is doing a lot of work again." "For a while is better than by 5 o'clock, I said. I sent the first family transfer while they watched. No long claim process, no tax lecture, no performance about luck. The system had created the cover, and I used it as a shield, not a scene. My father's phone buzzed. Then my mother's. Then Sophie checked her tuition account and sat down hard on the stairs. "First year," she said. "Julian, that is my first year." Teresa covered her mouth. Alan turned away for one breath, and I let him. Fathers deserve privacy when relief hits the part they thought they had failed. The ledger did not flash for that. "Good! Some things should not need a multiplier." Then Alan slid the old office folder toward me. "This is not finished," he said. "The urgent debt is under control." Sophie's tuition breathes. "But Westbridge's old office failure is still public. The lake house is still tied to guarantees. Martin can still circle back with people who smell blood." "How soon?" "Soon enough that we cannot relax. Not soon enough that panic helps." My father was saying the monster had moved, not died. Teresa looked at me with eyes sharper than tears. "Do not turn one miracle into 10 stupid risks." I almost said it was too late. Instead, I said, "I will turn it into assets. Stupid risks are for people without timing." Sophie pointed at me from the stairs. "You sound worse when you are confident. That means the renovation worked." My father's phone buzzed while the relief was still warm. He looked at it and did not read the message out loud. Precision mode made the useful detail louder again. His thumb had stopped on the sender line. His jaw had not tightened from surprise. It tightened from recognition. "Martin?" I asked. Alan sighed. He heard there was money. Teresa's hand closed around the watch on her wrist. Of course he did. My father turned the phone so I could see the message. "Uncle Martin Hale, congratulations on the lucky ticket. Luck does not remove guarantees. The larger debt still comes with adult consequences." Sophie leaned over the stair rail. "He types like a man who wants to be punched by grammar." Teresa gave her a look, but it had less heat than usual. I read the message twice, then set the phone down. The money had not scared Martin off. It had changed his angle. That mattered. The first urgent payment had made him leave our house. The prize ticket money made him stop pretending the family was helpless. Now he would bring bigger words, bigger numbers, and probably people who did not care that Teresa's watch was back where it belonged. Alan touched the old office folder. "This is why I said it is not finished. Martin is loud, but he is not the only pressure." "Then we do not pay fear twice," I said. "We buy time once and use it." Teresa watched me carefully. "Use it for what?" I looked at the folder, at Sophie's tuition confirmation, at my father's tired hands. "For assets," I said. "For doors they cannot close by calling us lucky." Sophie looked toward the boxes by the stairs. "So do I unpack?" Teresa's eyes softened and hurt at the same time. I said, "Unpack the one marked college things, leave the empty one by the door." Sophie frowned. "Why?" "Because fear likes evidence too," I said. "Let it see we moved first." She carried the box up 2 steps, then stopped and looked back. "You know that was weird, right?" "Yes." "Good. As long as we know." My phone buzzed again. Sienna. Sienna. Russell sent a floor-only schedule for the month. No premium leads, no commission lanes. If I stay, he owns my paycheck. A second message followed before I answered. "Sienna, if I walk out tomorrow morning, I need the offer to be real." I looked at my family, the folder, the tuition confirmation. The old company wound still open on the table. Loyalty threshold had paid. Precision mode had sharpened the map. The family was breathing, but Westbridge's public failure was still on the street like a sign people could spit on. And Sienna was one decision away from turning Russell's punishment into my first real asset move. I typed back one word. "Real." Then the ledger pulsed behind my eyes, waiting for the next door to open. Russell Ford held Sienna Marsh's punishment like a trophy at 9:12 in the morning. Sienna quit at 9:14. She told me later she let him finish the first sentence because she wanted the whole showroom to hear how small he was about to become. I did not see the first minute. I arrived at Hudson Crest Motors as Russell stood near the front desk, holding Sienna's new floor-only schedule like a trophy. Vince Doran hovered behind him with the careful face of a man who had already lost one commission and looked ready to watch someone else bleed. Sienna stood across from Russell in her showroom blouse, name badge straight, expression calm enough to make him underestimate her. 30 days, Russell said. No premium leads, no high-value appointments. You support walk-ins until I trust your judgment again. Sienna looked at the schedule. Because Nate punched you at lunch. Russell's smile sharpened. His lip was still bruised. Good. Because your personal life damaged dealership reputation. My personal life? You brought drama around a major buyer. You blurred lines. I stepped into the showroom then. Russell saw me and almost looked pleased, as if my arrival proved his point. Perfect timing. I try, I said. Sienna glanced at me once, then turned back to Russell. Say the part you told me by text. Russell's smile thinned. Sienna raised her phone and read his own words in front of the front desk. We will revisit your judgment after you remember who protects your commissions. Vince looked down. The receptionist stopped typing. A couple near a display car pretended they had not heard every syllable. Russell's face went flat. Do not perform. Sienna removed her name badge and placed it on the desk. I am not performing, she said. I am resigning. For one beautiful second, Russell did not understand that a threat only works if the person still needs the leash. Then, it hit him. You are being emotional, he said. No, Sienna said. I am being underpaid, overmanaged, and done. I almost applauded. I did not because the scene was hers. Russell looked at me. So this is your plan? You buy a car, then buy my staff? No, I said. Buying the car was the warm-up. Your staff quit for free. The receptionist made a tiny sound into her hand. Russell snapped, Sienna, step into my office. She picked up her bag. You do not have a door I need anymore. The first payoff was hers, not mine. She walked past me without waiting for permission, and I followed because men like Russell deserved to watch exits they caused but could not control. Outside, Sienna stopped beside the electric GT. Her hands shook once, then stilled. I just lost my paycheck, she said. You lost a punishment, I said. We will replace the paycheck. That sounds easy when you say it. Good, hard things should at least sound offended. She looked at me, and this time the smile came through fully. The ledger opened. Venture multiplier path active. Qualifying asset requirement. Control. Independent revenue. Public leverage. Career rescue. Blue Pine Cafe candidate detected. I had never been to Blue Pine Cafe for strategy. I knew it because half of Brighton State University treated it like a study hall with caffeine. It sat 3 blocks from campus and close enough to Riverton Galleria that the same people who mocked bankruptcy could accidentally witness a business change hands before lunch. The ledger liked that part. So did I. Get in, I told Sienna. We are buying you a door. Blue Pine Cafe looked tired in the honest way useful places get tired. The front windows needed cleaning. The counter had scratches. The menu board leaned slightly to one side. But the place had traffic, real tables, and 2 employees who kept moving even when the espresso machine complained like it had student loans. Elise Borden waited near the back counter with a folder under one arm and no patience for theater. You are Julian West, she said. Yes. And you are Sienna Marsh. Sienna blinked. Yes. Elise looked at her with a short, assessing nod. Good. I wanted someone who knew customer pressure. Elise needed no softer introduction. I liked her immediately. Elise set the folder on the counter but did not open it. I want a fast sale. I am tired, not desperate. If you keep the staff, protect tips, and do not turn this place into a vanity lounge for rich kids, I will talk. If not, drink coffee and leave. Sienna looked at me. There was the staff protection bridge, not paperwork, not negotiation drag, a human condition. I asked Elise, how many employees? 2 today, 4 on rotation. They stay, or I wait for another buyer. They stay, I said. One of the employees behind the counter glanced over fast, then looked away faster, Elise noticed. Good. That reaction had value because it changed the stakes. I was not only buying a sign, I was buying people out from under uncertainty. Sienna stepped closer to the counter. I want schedule authority, tip protection, suppliers say, and no manager allowed to treat staff like they owe him attention. Elise's mouth curved. That last one sounds personal. It is. Good. Personal rules stick. I looked at Sienna. Manager authority, salary, signing bonus, staff protections. You put it in plain language. Elise hears it. The staff hears it. If I try to walk it back later, you throw coffee at me. The employee near the machine smiled before hiding it. Sienna's marker pulsed. Affinity, 78. Still eligible. Elise tapped the closed folder. Price is not small. Then do not whisper it. She gave me the number. It was ugly enough to be useful and low enough for the spend voucher and venture multiplier path to carry without turning the section into accounting. Before I could answer, the front door opened. Ryder Galt walked in with Kara Finch and Bryce Klein behind him. Of course. Blue Pine was too close to campus for gossip not to develop legs. Ryder saw me first, then Sienna. Then Elise's folder. His grin arrived like a bad smell. Julian West buying coffee now? Ryder said. That is more your speed than cars. Bryce looked around the cafe with visible relief. He understood luxury stores and cars could embarrass him. A scratched counter made him brave again. Kara's eyes moved to Sienna. Maya busy today? Sienna did not flinch, but her expression cooled. I said, Kara, if you were looking for replacement math, start with the woman who kept the bag. Kara's face tightened. Ryder stepped closer to the counter. What is this? Another performance? You going to buy a muffin and call it an empire? Bryce laughed. Elise looked at me. Friends of yours? Past expenses, I said. Penny would have loved that line. Unfortunately, she was not there to monetize it. Ryder pointed at the folder. Let me guess, he told you he's buying the place. Elise did not answer. Ryder turned to the 2 employees. Relax. If this guy buys anything, it is for a clip. His family cannot even keep creditors from circling the lake house. That made Sienna turn. Not because he insulted me. Because he dragged my family into a room where employees were waiting to see if their job survived. Do you ever speak without borrowing someone else's wound? Sienna asked. Ryder's grin slipped. Bryce said, Careful, Sienna. Julian likes women who defend him. It gets expensive. Sienna looked at him. Then you should have defended Kara better at the Galleria. It would have saved her the embarrassment. Kara's mouth opened. Beautiful. Sienna did not need me to aim every knife. The ledger brightened. Public leverage pressure detected. Venture asset eligible if control transfers under witness pressure. I looked at Elise. I accept your price. Staff stay. Sienna becomes manager. Signing bonus today. Salary starts now. Ryder laughed again, but weaker. You accept? Just like that? Yes, I said. Watch closely. This is what ownership sounds like before the keys move. Elise studied my face for one long second. She had no interest in my revenge tour. Good sellers care less about drama than certainty. Transfer clears, Elise said. Keys move. Staff stay. Sienna manages. I leave tonight. Done, Sienna whispered. Julian. I did not look away from Elise. Too late to save me from myself. I was going to say thank you. That almost distracted me. Almost. I sent the transfer. Elise's phone buzzed. The employee near the espresso machine stopped pretending not to watch. Elise checked the screen, then nodded once. Cleared. The cafe went quiet in a way no luxury boutique ever could. A bag is pretty, a car is loud, a business has gravity. People standing under its roof understand when the roof changes hands. Elise pulled the keys from her pocket and placed them on the counter in front of Sienna, not me. Manager, Elise said, make it cleaner than I could. Sienna stared at the keys. Then she picked them up. Accepted, spend confirmed. Career rescue accepted. Venture multiplier objective complete. Blue Pine Cafe control established. Return package processing. The words hit while Sienna's fingers closed around the metal. Ryder stopped smiling. Bryce stared at the keys like they had personally insulted his credit limit. Kara's eyes moved from Sienna's hand to my face, and the calculation in them looked uglier than jealousy. Bags could be dismissed as rebound gifts. A car could be called rented until it kept showing up. A cafe with staff, keys, and a manager was harder to edit into a rumor. Sienna turned to the employees. Her voice shook once, then steadied. Nobody's schedule changes today. Tips stay yours. We are opening tomorrow like normal, just with better rules. One employee said, yes, ma'am, then looked embarrassed by how fast it came out. That reaction counted. Authority had moved. Sienna did not tuck the keys away. She set them on the counter where the staff could see them and asked the first managerial question before anyone else could turn the moment into a speech. Who was on close tonight? The employee near the machine raised a hand. Me. But if everything is changing, I can call out and let the other shift know. Nobody calls out, Sienna said. Nobody gets punished for staying. We close on schedule, count tips in front of 2 people, and tomorrow morning I want the broken front window cleaned before the first rush. Elise's eyebrows lifted. The employee nodded faster than she meant to. Yes, ma'am. Sienna winced at the ma'am, but she did not correct it. The forms could wait. Authority had landed in real time. Ryder watched the exchange and looked annoyed because employees responding to Sienna made the cafe harder to mock. Kara watched because she understood status through rooms that obeyed someone else. Bryce watched because he was still trying to decide whether a coffee counter could embarrass him. It could. Anything can embarrass a man if he has already promised it is beneath him. The front door opened again before the payoff could cool. Russell Ford walked in with bruised lip, polished shoes, and the furious calm of a man who had been told his former salesperson was here. His eyes landed on Sienna holding the keys, then on me. Then on Ryder, Kara, and Brees, who had accidentally become witnesses to his loss. Russell smiled as if the scene could still be made small. A cafe, he said. You quit a real sales floor for a coffee counter. Sienna did not lower the keys. I answered for the business, not for her. She quit your leash for authority. Try to keep up. Russell looked at Elise. Is this legal? Elise picked up her folder. It is sold. I am tired. Do not involve me in your tantrum. Then she walked behind the counter to say goodbye to the staff, leaving Russell with no adult-looking route except embarrassment. He chose threat instead. You think a few keys make this work? Russell said to Sienna. You need suppliers, staff, weekend traffic, health of reputation. One call from the right person and your opening week becomes a cute little disaster. There it was, the new pressure, clean and ugly. Sienna looked at him, then at the 2 employees, then at me. This time she did not look scared first. She looked angry. You froze my sales, she said. Now you want to freeze my coffee beans too? One employee made a noise close to a laugh. Russell's face tightened. Ryder saw the threat and tried to join the winning side too late. Honestly, Julian, this place is a downgrade. You went from electric cars to buying breakfast sandwiches. I looked at him. Ryder, you cannot afford the car, you do not own the cafe, and somehow you keep reviewing both. That is commitment. Bryce turned away to hide a smile and hated himself for it. Kara saw him do it. Tiny fracture, useful later. The ledger flashed again. Venture multiplier return processed. Qualified business asset acquired under public hostile pressure. Empire mission unlocked. Qualifying capital tier, $10 million. Objective: expand from single asset control to protected business and property position. Mystery industry bonus pending. Do not reveal final branch until qualifying pressure converges. Empire mission. The word sat heavier than every prior prompt. The ledger had moved from coffee to bags, from family debt to cars, from an investment table to a cafe. Now it wanted scale, not a purchase, a position. I looked at Blue Pine's scratched counter, Sienna's hand around the keys, Russell's bruised mouth, Ryder's shrinking grin, Kara's jealous calculation, and Bryce's failing role as replacement prize. The cafe purchase had paid, but the system had just made the next board bigger. Russell stepped toward the door, then paused with one hand on the handle. Opening weekend, he said to Sienna. Enjoy it if you get one. He left before anyone could answer, which was the first smart thing he had done all block. A student at the door looked from Russell's back to Sienna's keys. Are you still open? Sienna turned to the counter before I could answer for her. Yes, she said, and the coffee is better when nobody is threatening the staff. The student stepped inside, then another followed him. A grand opening would come later. 2 customers and a bruised enemy outside on his phone were enough proof of life for Blue Pine. Sienna looked at me. Can he really choke us? Precision mode sharpened the room again. Russell had not threatened violence. He had threatened supply, reputation, staff fear, and timing. The kind of things small businesses bleed from before customers ever see the wound. He can try, I said. That is not comforting. It was not designed to be. Ryder muttered, You are all insane. I picked up one of the Blue Pine keys from Sienna's palm and set it back down on the counter where everyone could see it. No, I said. Insane was calling me. Broken rooms where the price kept going up. Sienna closed her hand around the keys again. The employees went back to work with different posture. Elise signed nothing in public and explained nothing. Good. The asset did not need a contract scene. It had a new manager, a cleared payment, employees who knew they were staying, enemies who had witnessed it, and a boss who had just promised retaliation. That was enough. Outside, Russell was already on his phone. Inside, the ledger pulsed with the Empire mission's larger capital tier. Blue Pine had opened before they could laugh twice. Now Russell wanted to choke it before opening weekend, and the system wanted a move big enough to make a cafe look like the first square on a much meaner board. Russell Ford's threat reached Blue Pine Cafe before the first new pastry tray did. The supplier rep called it 6:11 in the evening, just as Sienna Marsh was checking the register, and one employee was wiping the front window where Russell had stood. Sienna put the call on speaker because she was done letting powerful men whisper consequences where nobody else could hear them. The rep's voice came through thin and careful. We may need to delay the weekend delivery. There are concerns about whether Blue Pine is stable under new ownership. Sienna looked at me. I looked at the 2 employees behind the counter. Their hands had stopped moving. Russell did not need to be in the room to make payroll feel cold. Sienna asked the speaker. Did Russell Ford call you? The rep hesitated half a second too long. I cannot discuss another client's comments. Then discuss mine, Sienna said. Blue Pine is open tomorrow. We paid. We kept staff. We are not asking for charity. Are you delaying because of a real supply issue, or because a bruised manager at Hudson Crest Motors wants to punish me for quitting? The rep went quiet. Good. Silence was an answer when fear had a name. I leaned closer to the phone. You do not need to choose right now, but if Russell is offering you one dealership relationship, understand that I am building business relationships with cash, not grudges. Call back when you decide which one pays faster. Sienna ended the call before the rep could mumble another polite dodge. One employee swallowed. Are we still opening? Sienna picked up the Blue Pine keys from the counter and clipped them to her belt loop. Yes, and if the coffee beans are late, we sell tea until somebody gets embarrassed. The employee laughed because she needed to, then went back to work. That reaction mattered. Russell had tried to make the staff smell failure before the doors opened. Sienna had made them move again. Then the other employee, the quiet one who had been restocking cups, asked the uglier question. If the delivery does not come, she said, are hours getting cut? Sienna's face tightened because good managers hate questions they cannot answer with money yet. I could answer with money. I pulled out my phone and sent Sienna a clean transfer labeled opening staff bonus. No speech, no business lecture, just enough cash to make Russell's shadow look cheap. Sienna's phone buzzed in her hand. She looked at the number and then at me. Julian, opening bonus, I said. Split it between the staff tonight. If the delivery is late, they still get paid for showing up to fight through it. The quiet employee stared. We get a bonus before opening? Sienna put her phone on the counter so both employees could see the transfer without turning it into begging. Yes, and if anyone calls you from Hudson Crest Motors telling you this place is unstable, you tell them Blue Pine paid you before it sold its first new muffin. The employee with the towel grinned. Can I say it exactly like that? Yes, Sienna said. That tiny grin was worth more than another argument with Russell. Staff fear had become staff loyalty, and Russell was not even in the room to stop it. The Empire mission prompt glowed at the edge of my vision, heavy and patient. Objective: expand from single asset control to protected business and property position. It did not tell me how. It never did when an enemy was still volunteering, so we stayed late. Sienna counted petty cash twice. I checked the front lock. The employees cleaned the window Russell had stood behind when he promised to choke the cafe. Nothing about it was romantic. Nothing about it was soft. It was 2 exhausted people making sure a small business did not look scared when the first student walked in. Then Nate Greer arrived with flowers. He came through the side hallway instead of the front door, carrying a bouquet wrapped in cheap, clear plastic, the stems already bent from his grip. He must have waited until the employees were near the back, because men like Nate loved witnesses only when he thought they would clap. He saw me first. His face tightened. "Of course," Nate said. "He's still here." Sienna stepped out from behind the counter before I could answer. The blue pine keys hung at her hip, catching the light every time she moved. Nate looked at the keys first, not her face. The keys. A man can survive losing an argument. Losing access is harder. Sienna said, "Nate, why are you here?" He held out the flowers. "To apologize, properly, without him twisting everything." I leaned against the counter and let that sit. Sienna did not take the flowers. Nate's smile strained. "You are really going to do this in front of him?" "You came to my workplace," Sienna said. "You picked the audience." One employee had stopped near the back hallway with a towel in her hand. A neighboring shop worker had stepped out across the shared hall, pretending to check a delivery cart. Nate noticed them too late. His apology had become public before it became useful. "I was wrong to hit Russell," Nate said, louder now, trying to regain the shape of the scene. "But I did it because he was disrespecting you. Any man would have reacted." Sienna's voice stayed even. "No. Any insecure man would have reacted by making my job pay for his pride." Nate's face flashed. "I made one mistake. You threw flowers in a trash can at the lantern room because I would not perform grateful girlfriend in public. Then you punched my manager. Then you left me with the consequence. Because Julian was circling you." "Julian offered me a business," she said. "You offered me an explanation for your fist." The employee in the hallway looked down fast, but her mouth moved like she wanted to say something and knew better. Nate saw that tiny reaction. It humiliated him more than a speech would have. He shoved the bouquet towards Sienna again. "Take them, please! I am trying here!" Sienna looked at the flowers, then at the keys on her hip. The whole section of hallway seemed to hold its breath. The hallway gave Sienna a choice. Everyone could read. Flowers or keys. Old apology or new door. Nate or the future. Russell had accidentally pushed her toward. Sienna took the flowers. Nate's shoulders loosened. Then she placed them on the counter beside the tip jar, not against her chest. "Blue Pine can use them on the front table tomorrow," she said. "I am not taking them home." The employee at the back made a sharp sound and turned it into a cough. Nate went red. "You are embarrassing me." Sienna finally looked tired of being careful. "You embarrassed me when you made my work life about your ego. I am just saying no where people can hear it." The hit landed there. Not a slap, not a kiss, not a private bedroom door for some cheap rumor to chew on. A woman wearing the keys to her new job, refusing the man who had treated her career like a stage for his jealousy. Nate looked at me. "You bought this." I pushed off the counter. "I bought a cafe." She chose which door to walk through. "Try learning the difference before you buy flowers again." He stepped closer. "You think money makes you safe?" "No," I said. "It makes me expensive to bother." Sienna moved between us before Nate could turn the scene into another fist. "Do not threaten him to talk to me. That is exactly why this is over." Nate stared at her. The word over had more weight than the flowers, the punch, and every excuse he had carried into the hallway. "Over?" he said. "Yes." "I am not your girlfriend. I am not your proof that you are protective. I am not coming back because you found a bouquet after you made my paycheck bleed." The neighboring shop worker stopped pretending to check the delivery cart. Nate saw her listening, his face twisted between anger and shame. "You are choosing him," Nate said. Sienna touched the keys at her hip. "I am choosing the life where your anger does not get a vote. If Julian is part of that, that is my decision, not your evidence." The ledger marker beside her shoulder brightened. "Sienna Marsh, Affinity 82, eligible." Nate's eyes darted to the keys again. He had come with flowers to reclaim a girlfriend. He was leaving after watching a manager claim her own future in front of staff. "Clean hurt lasts longer than loud hurt." He lowered his voice. "I can wait outside your apartment until you are ready to talk. You cannot hide in a cafe forever." Sienna went still. The hallway changed, not with shock, with danger. The employee at the back stopped smiling. The neighboring worker stepped fully into the hallway. Nate had crossed from pathetic to threatening, and everyone there heard it. I moved one step forward. Not fast. Fast would have made him brave. "Nate," I said, "do not say stalking out loud and expect us to call it love." He glared at me. "Stay out of it, no? You brought it into my cafe near Blue Pine's staff, aimed at Blue Pine's manager. That makes it my problem." Sienna looked at me at the word my. I did not correct it. Ownership was ugly in romance and useful in business. The difference was choice. She had chosen the keys. Nate had chosen the threat. I kept my eyes on him. "If you wait outside her apartment, she does not answer. She calls. I answer. And then every place you use to scare her gets smaller for you." Nate laughed once, but it came out weak. "What does that even mean? It means I will not punch you in a restaurant. I will make you wish your worst idea had stayed cheap. He looked at Sienna again, waiting for her to soften the line for him. She did not leave, Sienna said. He held her stare for one more second. Then he turned, hit the hallway door with his shoulder because his hands were full of humiliation, and walked out without the flowers. The side door slammed behind him. The employee at the back whispered, "Are you okay?" Sienna closed her eyes once, then opened them. "No. But I am still manager, so wiped the front table and put his apology in water." The employee grabbed the flowers like they were evidence of a war Blue Pine had won. The payoff landed there. Nate's apology became cafe decoration, and his old boyfriend Lane closed in front of people who could repeat it without guessing. The consequence hit one breath later. Sienna looked at the side door and said, "He knows where I live." The ledger opened before I could answer. Threat to eligible anchor detected. Branch unlocked. Home anchor. Objective, secure permanent home for Sienna Marsh within 24 hours. Approved property budget, $3 million. Property bonus tied to safety, stability, and future expansion. I stared at the words. Bags had been pretty, cars had been loud, a cafe had gravity, a home was different. A home told a jealous man there was a door he did not know, lock he did not control, and a future he could not wait outside of. Sienna saw my face. "You are doing it again, Julian! I need to buy you a house." The sentence was insane enough that even the employee dropped a glass in the sink. Sienna stared at me. "No, absolutely not. That was the first normal thing you have said tonight. I mean it. I am not letting you turn one threat into a mansion." "Good. I hate mansions. I want privacy, garage access, security, and a door Nate cannot haunt." "You are not buying me a door. I am buying a permanent answer to a problem he was stupid enough to state in front of witnesses." She folded her arms. "That is still too much." "Yes. Stop agreeing when you are being ridiculous." "No. Agreement is part of my charm." She almost smiled, then looked at the side door again and lost it. The fear was not dramatic. That made it worse. Sienna was not afraid of a villain in a mask. She was afraid of a man who knew her building code, her shift patterns, and the old routes her life had taken before she decided to leave them. I lowered my voice. "Call someone you trust tonight. We do not go to your apartment alone. You tell them what happened. You let them hear the plan, even if they yell at me, especially if they yell at me." Sienna rubbed both hands over her face. "Carmen and Raina are going to lose their minds." "Good. Useful friends should make noise." She called Carmen Cruz first and put the phone on speaker, because that had become her new habit for dangerous moments. Carmen answered with music and traffic behind her. "Tell me Blue Pine survived the first rich boy disaster," Sienna said. "Nate came with flowers. I ended it. Then he threatened to wait outside my apartment." The background noise cut off. Carmen's voice changed. "Where are you? At Blue Pine. Julian is here." Raina Moss's voice jumped into the call, farther away but loud. "I told you not to answer Nate after midnight." Sienna looked at me. "Raina is with her." "Convenient," I said. Carmen snapped. "Was that Julian?" "Yes," Sienna said. "And before either of you start, he thinks the solution is buying me a safer place." For half a second, the phone was silent. Then Carmen said, "Buying as in rent help buying, or buying as in his stupid car buying." Raina said, "Ask him the budget. Men lie smaller when women ask numbers." Sienna closed her eyes. "Do not encourage him." I leaned toward the phone. 3 million. 24 hours. Beacon Row Estates. If Cedargate Realty has something ready. Carmen made a sound that was half scream, half laugh. "Sienna, if you do not go, I am going in your place and changing my name to yours." Raina said, "Send the address. We are coming. I want to see whether Rich Insanity has floor plans." Sienna looked at me like I had personally created the worst people in her life. I smiled. "Useful friends." She pointed at me. "You are enjoying this." "Yes," I said. Nate made flowers useless, so I upgraded the apology. That was one line too cocky, but Sienna did not look away. The Blue Pine keys were still on her hip. Nate's flowers were already in water on the front table. The staff had heard the rejection. Her friends had heard the threat. Home anchor had turned fear into a deadline. Nate had come to reclaim his old place. Instead, he gave me a reason to buy Sienna a new one. Carmen's voice came through the speaker again. "We are meeting you at Beacon Row. Do not let him pick beige." Raina added. "And do not let Sienna argue herself out of a house because she is allergic to being helped." Sienna grabbed the phone. "I hate all of you." I picked up the Blue Pine key from the counter and placed it in her palm. "Hate us in the car," I said. "The clock is running." Carmen Cruz and Raina Moss beat us to Beacon Row Estates and were already arguing with Sienna Marsh on the sidewalk before the agent decided whether I looked like a real buyer. Carmen had one hand on Sienna's shoulder and the other pointed at me like I was a dangerous appliance. He said 3 million on speaker. "You did not hallucinate that, right?" Raina looked me over, then looked at the electric GT behind me. No, he has that face. Men only look that calm when the number is stupid or inherited. Not inherited, I said. Worse, Sienna muttered. Earned through chaos. Carmen smiled. That sounds more fun. Sienna glared at her. You are here to talk me out of this. Absolutely not, Carmen said. I am here to make sure if a rich man loses his mind near you, he loses it with good lighting. Raina lifted her phone. Sienna pointed at it. Do not record me being uncomfortable. Raina lowered the phone immediately. Fine, I will record the house being expensive instead. So Beacon Row began with Sienna fighting the gift, Carmen trying to monetize disbelief, and Raina pretending she was practical while standing on her toes to see through the glass doors. Perfect! The house could not stay private if it was going to hit Nate, Russell, and every person who thought Sienna had been handed a cute little cafe instead of a new life. The Cedargate Realty agent met us inside with the careful smile of a woman who had seen young people waste her time before. She looked at my hoodie, Sienna's exhausted face, Carmen's grin, and Raina's phone. For first-time buyers, the agent said, we have several starter units that may be a better fit than the larger Beacon Row homes. Sienna seized on the word like a drowning woman finding a smaller boat. Starter sounds perfect! Starter sounds like you trying to save me from the mission, I said. The agent blinked. Mission? Budget, I corrected. 3 million cash range. I need privacy, garage capacity, a secure entrance, room for family if necessary, and enough permanence that a man with flowers cannot pretend a hallway is leverage. The agent's smile changed mid-breath. I had come for the service shift first, not the house. A second earlier, I was a young man with too many women and not enough visible paperwork. After the number landed, the agent straightened like my hoodie had turned into a suit while she was looking at it. In that case, the agent said, we have a finished Beacon Row home that can release today with cleared funds, private garage, rear entry, lake-facing office, guest suite. It is above the starter inventory. Carmen whispered, lake-facing office. Sienna, argue with that and I will bite you, Sienna whispered back. You are not helping. Correct, Carmen said. Raina leaned toward me. Do friends get garage capacity? Only useful friends, I said. I can become useful under pressure. Sienna closed her eyes. I regret calling you both. No, Raina said. You regret having self-respect while someone else has a property budget. Common problem. The agent pretended not to hear any of it, which made her smarter than most people I had paid that month. She led us to the property in a quiet electric cart. I did not let the ride become scenery. The route mattered only because Carmen and Raina kept reacting every time Beacon Row got more expensive around us. Low hedges, security gates, private drives, glass fronts set back from the street. No loud mansion nonsense, just money organized into silence. The agent pointed out one smaller row of units as we passed. Those are the entry homes Ryder Galt asked about this morning. She said it casually, then realized she had handed me a knife with a bow on it. Carmen leaned forward. Ryder is coming here too? Of course he is, I said. Men like Ryder smell comparison the way dogs smell food. Sienna gave me a warning look. Do not enjoy his arrival before it happens. I will try to be surprised when he volunteers. Raina smiled. I am not promising that. Sienna sat beside me with her hands folded so tightly her knuckles went pale. I said quietly, you can still say no. She looked at me. Can I? Yes. Will you listen? I will listen. Then I may argue. That is not the same thing. No, but it is honest. She looked out at the passing homes. I left one man who thought my life needed his permission. I will not trade that for prettier permission. Good line, sharp line, necessary line. I answered it clean. Then do not ask my permission after today. Take the door, change the lock, run Blue Pine, and tell me no whenever I deserve it. Carmen leaned from the back seat. That was almost healthy. I am frightened, Raina said. Do not ruin it. Sienna's mouth moved like she hated that she wanted to smile. The house waited at the end of a short private drive. 3 levels, dark trim, warm stone, wide windows facing the water, and a garage door big enough to make Nate's old apartment threat look like a child's drawing. The agent opened the front door and stepped aside. Sienna did not move first. Raina did. She walked in, stopped under the entry light, and whispered, Oh, this is rude. Carmen followed and turned in a slow circle. This house has richer air. Sienna stayed on the threshold. That threshold was the real scene. If she crossed it too fast, the gift swallowed her. If she refused it too long, Nate kept the apartment bread in his pocket. I did not push her with a hand. I used the only thing she had trusted from me so far, a choice with ugly honesty attached. Nate knows your old door, I said. Russell knows your old paycheck. This is not romance. This is a locked answer to both men. Sienna looked at the keys in the agent's hand. And what is the price after the price? You manage Blue Pine. You build it into something that makes this look early. You do not crawl back to a man who confuses flowers with ownership. Carmen, from inside the living room, said, I vote yes to that terrible speech. Reina added, same. Also, the kitchen is obscene. Sienna finally stepped inside. The ledger pulsed, but it did not complete. Not yet. Acceptance was not entering a room. Acceptance had teeth. The agent walked us through the home quickly because I refused to let square footage become the episode. Private garage. Secure rear entry. Guest suite. Office with a lake view. Kitchen big enough for Carmen to make 3 separate inappropriate jokes before Sienna threatened to lock her in a pantry. Then the front door opened again. I did not need the ledger to know trouble had learned the address. Ryder Galt came through the front door with Kara Finch and Bryce Klein behind him. Ryder wore the grin of a man who thought he had arrived with a better flex. Kara's eyes swept the living room and stopped on Sienna. Bryce looked at the windows, then at me, and started searching for the cheapest insult that could survive the furniture. The agent stiffened. This is a private showing. Ryder lifted a hand. Relax. I have a hold on a Beacon Row unit too. We were just nearby. Kara looked at me. You are buying her a house now? Sienna did not answer. Carmen did. Correct. Try to sound less sad about it. Bryce snapped. Nobody buys a house in one afternoon. This is another stunt. Reina looked at him. You said that about the car, right? Bryce's jaw tightened. Ryder stepped farther into the room, trying to regain the scene. My family has property here. Unlike Julian, I do not need to turn every purchase into a public apology for bankruptcy. I looked at the agent. Which unit did Ryder put on hold? The agent hesitated. I smiled. Do not break confidentiality. Just tell me whether it is above or below this property tier. Ryder's grin died before the agent spoke. The agent said carefully, it is a smaller unit in the entry collection. Carmen clapped once before Sienna could stop her. Reina whispered, entry collection is agent language for sit down. Kara's eyes flicked to Ryder. That flick was the whole payoff. Ryder had walked in to make a smaller property look big beside my ruin. The agent had just placed his flex below Sienna's threshold. Ryder pointed at me. You are insane if you think giving away a house makes you respected. I am not giving away respect, I said. I am buying security. Respect is what you are losing while watching it happen. Bryce tried to recover. It is probably financed to death. I looked at him. You are brave around payment methods for a man whose first victory lap had a rental sticker. Kara's mouth tightened. Bryce turned to her. Do not start. I did not say anything, Kara said. Your face did. That little crack gave the room a second payoff for free. The agent cleared her throat. Mr. West, if you want to proceed, we can release keys today after the funds clear. Sienna turned sharply. Julian, wait. Everyone looked at her. Good. Let them hear the woman receiving the house argue against it. She faced me, not the audience. I am not a prize. You move from a cafe to a garage. No, I said. You are the person who told 2 men no and still asked whether the staff would be safe tomorrow. That is why the house is worth spending on. You cannot keep solving threats by buying bigger objects. I know. Eventually, I will buy the room where threats are made. The ledger pulsed like it enjoyed the line. I should not have enjoyed that. I did anyway. Sienna stepped closer and lowered her voice enough that the others had to strain. I accept the house for safety and for Blue Pine's future, not because I belong to you. Good, I said. Belonging is boring. Ownership is for keys. She gave me one exhausted, sharp look. You are impossible, but clear. Unfortunately. She turned to the agent. If this goes through, the garage access and locks change before I sleep here. The agent nodded. That can be arranged today. I tapped the payment confirmation on the tablet. This time Bryce did not say, watch it decline. He had learned one tiny thing. The confirmation cleared. The agent's posture changed for the second time that day. Service had become deference. She placed the keys in Sienna's hand. Home anchor objective complete. Permanent security accepted. Property bonus processed. Empire mission clue unlocked. Harbor Line building. Partial convergence detected. Westbridge District. Blue Pine opening pressure. Family debt leverage. Full route locked until hostile pressure converges. The words hit harder than the balance adjustment that followed. Harborline Building. The name sat in my vision like a door I had seen before but never opened. Westbridge District. Family debt leverage. Blue Pine opening pressure. The home payoff had not ended the property ladder. It had pointed at the place where every debt, business threat, and status enemy could fit into one room. Sienna closed her fingers around the keys. Carmen stared at them. That is not a bag, Reina said. That is a whole life with a garage. Kara looked at Sienna's hand like the keys had slapped her. Ryder tried to laugh. It came out thin. Enjoy the stunt. Houses cost more after the picture. I looked at the agent. Did the funds clear? The agent answered without glancing at Ryder. Yes, Mr. West. Ryder's face closed. There was no better answer than that. Kara walked toward the door first. Bryce followed her too fast. Ryder stayed 1 extra second because men like him think leaving last repairs losing first. I stopped him with one line. Ryder, he turned. When you show Kara the entry collection, mention the agent said it out loud. Honesty saves editing time. Carmen made a choking sound. Ryder left. The agent waited until the door shut before she handed Sienna a second small packet with the garage remote and temporary access cards. Sienna took the packet, then tried to hand one card to me. I did not take it, she frowned. Julian, your door, I said. Your card. Carmen looked between us, suddenly less amused. Raina lowered her phone all the way. Even the agent stopped sorting the keys. Sienna held the access card in the air between us. Say it where everyone can hear you. Romance had nothing to do with that moment. That was the price after the price. I looked at her, then at Carmen, Raina, and the agent. I do not enter this house unless Sienna lets me in. I do not use the house to make her answer a call, accept a date, forgive a mood, or explain herself. The house solves a threat. It does not create a leash. Carmen nodded slowly. I heard that. Raina lifted one finger. And if he forgets, I know how to make a very educational post without using a proper noun. The agent's mouth twitched. Sienna's hand lowered. She kept the card. That mattered more than the garage, the lake view, or Ryder's dead grin outside. Sienna had accepted the house only after making the condition public. Nate had tried to make love sound like waiting outside her door. She made safety sound like a boundary with witnesses. The ledger marker beside her shoulder brightened again. Sienna Marsh, Affinity, 86, stable anchor established. The agent cleared her throat and spoke to Sienna, not me. I will put the lock change under your authorization. The security handoff can happen before nightfall. Sienna nodded. Thank you. Carmen touched the kitchen counter with 2 fingers. I am still angry. This is real. But I like the boundary part. It makes the insanity taste less poisonous. Do not lick the counter, Raina said. I was not going to lick it. Your face said maybe. Sienna laughed once, small and unwilling. That laugh changed the house. It stopped being only a fortress against Nate and became a place where her friends could insult each other in peace. I would have paid for that too. The front door shut behind them, and for the first time since Nate walked into Blue Pine with flowers, Sienna's shoulders dropped. Not fully. Enough. She looked at the keys, then at me. This is too much. Yes. I am going to keep saying that. Good. It will keep the house ventilated. Carmen walked to the window and looked out toward the driveway. Ryder is still standing outside like the bushes owe him an apology. Raina lifted her phone but did not record. Kara is not looking at Bryce. That is almost educational. The payoff had landed. The house was real, the keys were in Sienna's hand, and Ryder's property flex had collapsed in front of the women he wanted to impress. Then my phone rang. Julian West. I answered with the ledger's harbor line clue still glowing in the edge of my vision. My father did not waste a greeting. Julian, Martin moved the larger creditor conversation to Harbor Line Building tomorrow morning. He says if we want to protect the lake house, we show up with adult money and no theater. Across the room, Sienna's phone buzzed too. She read the screen and looked at me. The supplier rep called back. Russell is meeting people at Harbor Line tomorrow and telling them Blue Pine will not survive opening weekend. Carmen turned from the window. Why is everyone awful at the same building? I stared through the glass at Beacon Row's quiet private drive, then at Sienna's new keys, then at the Harbor Line clue only I could see. Because, I said, they all think it is theirs. The home anchor had paid. Now Harbor Line was calling every enemy to the same door. Harbor Line Building was supposed to be a creditor conversation. That was the version Julian West gave me on the phone. Uncle Martin Hale had moved the larger family pressure there. The lake house, the old Westbridge Travel Group guarantees, the office failure, all of it had been dressed up as an adult discussion in a lobby with marble floors. I arrived expecting Martin. I found a reunion of everyone who had mistaken my collapse for public property. Martin stood near a glass conference wall with a creditor rep and a folder thick enough to make cowards feel official. Russell Ford was near the loading entrance with Vince Doran and 2 supplier reps, smiling like Blue Pine Cafe's opening weekend had already been strangled. Ryder Galt leaned by the lobby directory with Kara Finch and Bryce Klein close enough to look like a committee of bad upgrades. Graham Sykes and Theo Morrow hovered near the coffee stand, pretending they had come by accident. Nobody comes to Harbor Line by accident before 9 in the morning. Sienna Marsh stood beside me with the Blue Pine keys on one ring and the Beacon Row keys on another. Maya Lennox had come with my family, because Maya had never learned the safer version of loyalty. Teresa West wore her Cartier watch. Sophie West held her phone like she was ready to text insults if adults failed. Jonah Beck waited by the elevators, watching the room instead of the ceiling. Good. If the whole city wanted one last look at the bankrupt West boy, I preferred witnesses who knew the receipt history. Martin saw me and lifted the folder. You bought a house for a woman while your family's lake house is still tied to guarantees? That is not a comeback, Julian. That is a spending disorder with witnesses. Teresa's hand closed around the watch. Alan started to speak. I touched his sleeve once. Let him finish. He brought a folder. It needs exercise. Martin's smile thinned. Still joking. Good. The larger debt does not care about jokes. Your lucky ticket bought breathing room. It did not buy adulthood. Russell heard enough to join from across the lobby, and his cafe does not have a weekend if suppliers decide stability matters. Sienna, you can still stop letting him use your anger as a business plan. Sienna did not move. Vince added. Hudson Crest Motors has real vendor relationships. Coffee counters do not. Brave words from a man who had once sold his commission to a sneer. Ryder stepped in next because comparison was his addiction. This is the part where Julian pretends one car, one cafe, and one house make him bigger than Harborline. Bryce laughed too late. He is probably here to rent the lobby. Kara did not laugh. I noticed that. So did Bryce. Graham lifted his cup toward me. For what it is worth, Julian, if this becomes an investment thing, Theo and I are open to hearing terms. Theo nodded quickly. No hard feelings about the lantern room. We were joking. Jonah finally smiled. Not warmly, like a knife remembering work. Every enemy had brought the same mistake in a different outfit. Martin brought debt leverage. Russell brought supplier fear. Ryder brought comparison. Brees brought fake status. Kara brought unfinished access. Graham and Theo brought the old parasite smile and hoped my memory had a cover charge they could afford. The Empire mission opened across my vision. Hostile pressure convergence detected. Harborline building route available. Secure protected business and property position. Eligible package, ground floor flagship access, Westbridge office suite event launch access, supplier priority, family guarantee payoff. Approved capital tier active, $10 million. I almost laughed. The ledger had not led me to Harborline because I needed a meeting. It led me here because everyone threatening me had walked into the same building and started pointing at doors. A leasing director approached from the elevators with a tablet under one arm and a ring of access cards in the other hand. He looked at the room, then at me. Mr. West, he said, the Harborline package can be released today if you want the full allocation, ground floor, office suite, private event access, and loading priority. Russell's smile died first. Martin's folder lowered half an inch. Ryder's eyes moved to the lobby directory. I did not look at them. I looked at my father. Alan West had spent years making nervous travelers trust a storefront. Losing the old office had hurt him worse than he admitted because it made Westbridge Travel Group look dead in public. Men like Martin had learned to press that bruise whenever they wanted him smaller. I asked the leasing director, the office suite can carry Westbridge signage? Yes. My father's face changed before he could hide it. I looked at Sienna. Ground floor can support Blue Pine's opening extension? Sienna answered before the leasing director could. If we have loading priority and weekend access, yes. The supplier reps heard that. Useful? I looked at Jonah. Private event access works for your lounge launch path? Jonah's grin finally showed teeth. Better than the basement. Graham's cup froze near his mouth. I turned back to the leasing director. Release it, Bryce scoffed. Just like that? I looked at him. You should love this. It is the first time today someone is using the word release without talking about a rental. Sophie made a noise behind my mother. Kara looked down. Bryce went red. The leasing director turned the tablet toward me. The amount on the screen was not a price for a toy. It was a position, offices, ground floor access, launch space, loading priority, enough Harborline control to make every threat in the lobby ask a new question. Can he really? I confirmed the capital release. No hearing, no folder speech, no dramatic document nobody had earned, just money moving while everyone who had called me finished stood inside the room I was buying access to. The tablet chimed. The leasing director handed me the access cards. Empire mission objective complete. Protected business and property position secured. Mystery industry. Bonus processed. Supplier priority. Launch credits and office restoration support. Family guarantee payoff eligible. The numbers that followed were huge. The reactions were better. Martin grabbed the creditor rep's arm before he could step toward my father. Wait, the guarantees still have to be discussed. The creditor rep looked at the tablet, then at the message that had landed on his own phone. The payoff instruction cleared for the urgent family guarantee piece. Mr. Hale, we do not need your involvement on that portion anymore. Martin's face emptied. Teresa stepped forward. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. Martin, she said, you came to my dining room to watch us pack fear into boxes. Today you can watch us take the house off your tongue, Sophie whispered. Mom. Teresa kept her eyes on Martin. Get out of my family's business, again. The second again was petty. I adored it. Martin tried to look at Alan. You are letting your son gamble your name. Alan took one of the access cards from my hand and held it like a door he had thought was gone. No. I am watching my son buy back the room where people stopped saying my name with respect. That hit my father harder than it hit Martin, but it hit Martin too. His debt leverage had not just shrunk, it had lost the audience. I handed Sophie the tuition confirmation I had prepared that morning with the remaining family relief. Full funding path, not just first year. Sophie stared at the screen, then sat on the nearest lobby bench because apparently that was her family tradition when money got too real. I hate all of you, she said, voice shaking, but in a relieved way. Teresa laughed through tears, then covered it by touching the watch. The family payoff landed before Russell could steal the room back. He tried anyway. Russell stepped toward the supplier reps. This does not change Blue Pine's vendor risk. Harborline access is nice, stability is different. Sienna walked past me before I could answer. She held up the Blue Pine keys in one hand and the Harborline access card in the other. Stability is staff paid before opening, a protected loading slot, and a manager who does not threaten commissions because a woman refused to flatter him. Which part are you selling against? One supplier rep looked at Russell, the other looked at Sienna. If Harborline priority applies, we can deliver to Blue Pine through the loading entrance tomorrow morning. Russell's mouth tightened. You are choosing a cafe over a dealership account? The rep did not answer the insult. He answered the money. We are choosing confirmed access. Vince stepped back as if distance from Russell might save him. Sienna's phone buzzed. She looked at it, then turned the screen so I could see. 2 dealership employees had messaged her asking whether Blue Pine needed weekend staff for Harborline. She did not hide it from Russell. Also, Sienna said, the people you taught to fear you are learning, I pay faster. Vince read the screen over Russell's shoulder and understood why losing my car commission had only been the first leak. Russell's supplier threat, staff threat, and control threat all collapsed in the same lobby. He touched his bruised lip like it had started hurting again. This is temporary, he said. So is your authority, Sienna said. Carmen would have screamed if she had been there. Raina would have recorded it. Sienna did neither. She just slid the Harborline access card onto the same ring as the Blue Pine keys. The key ring made the louder argument. Ryder tried to save himself next. He walked toward the lobby directory and pointed at the Beacon Row listing on a small display near the property kiosk. You think Harborline impresses me? My family has been in property for years. The leasing director looked at him. Are you here as a tenant, Mr. Galt, or as a visitor? Ryder opened his mouth. No answer came out clean. Visitor was the truth. Tenant was the lie he could not afford in front of Kara. I held up one Harborline access card. He is a visitor. Make sure someone signs him in. The leasing director nodded. Kara looked at Ryder like the entry collection had followed him from Beacon Row and sat on his shoulders. Ryder's final comparison loss was not that he owned nothing, it was that he had to ask permission in a building where he had tried to perform ownership. Bryce saw Ryder weaken and tried to move around him. Kara, this is ridiculous. Julian is just throwing money at anyone who gives him attention. Maya stepped forward then. She had stayed quiet through family debt, cafe access, and Ryder's collapse. That made her voice cut cleaner. Bryce, Maya said, you cropped a rental tag, failed at the Galleria, lowered your phone when the watch came up, and now you are standing in Julian's building calling other people fake. Sit this one out. Bryce looked at Kara for rescue. Kara did not give it. His concrete loss was not my insult or Maya's line. It was Kara's silence. The woman he had used as his replacement trophy no longer wanted to hold his cover in public. Kara walked toward me before Bryce could recover. Maya's expression hardened. Sienna looked over from the supplier reps. Teresa's eyes sharpened in a way that proved mothers can smell old trouble across marble. Kara stopped 2 steps away. Julian, she said, softer than she had said my name in weeks. Maybe I misjudged what was happening. I looked at her bare wrist. The watch was on my mother's arm now, where it belonged. You did, I said. Her eyes brightened for half a second. Because people who return late always think acknowledgement is a door. I closed it. Misjudging me does not make you early, it makes you documented. Kara's face tightened. Bryce whispered, Kara. She did not turn back to him. She did not step toward me either. For the first time since the parking circle, she had no clean upgrade to stand beside. Enough! I turned to Jonah. Graham and Theo moved at the same time, suddenly friendly enough to make my skin itch. Graham said, Julian, come on, we can help with the lounge side, we know people. Theo added, we were out of line before, but if Jonah is launching through Harborline, no reason to waste old connections. Jonah looked at me, giving me the right to finish it. I handed Jonah an access card. Then I looked at Graham and Theo. You both had a chair at the lantern room before the transfer. You used it to laugh. The chairs are gone. Graham's friendly face cracked. That is petty. Yes, I said, and accurate. Theo looked at Jonah. Seriously? Jonah held up his card. Private event access is limited. I prefer investors who do not flee when money appears. Graham's mouth opened, but the lobby security desk had already started printing visitor badges for everyone without access. Graham looked at the machine, then at the card in Jonah's hand. Losing access hurt longer than regret. The old friends were done. Sienna did not wait for applause. She walked to the ground floor space the leasing director had pointed out and unlocked it with the new card. The glass door clicked open for her before Russell had managed to leave the lobby. That sound did more damage than any insult I could have written for him. Inside, the space was still empty. No counter, no chairs, no cute sign, just polished concrete, a loading entrance, and enough street-facing glass to make Blue Pine visible to everyone walking through Harbor Line by lunch. Sienna stood in the center and turned to the supplier reps. Tomorrow morning, this becomes Blue Pine's opening weekend counter. We start small. Coffee, pastries, simple breakfast. You deliver through that entrance. I pay on confirmation. If anyone from Hudson Crest Motors calls again, you ask whether they own this loading slot. One supplier rep looked from the access card in her hand to Russell. Understood, the rep said. Russell's jaw moved like he had bitten something bitter. Vince tried to save a little face. You have never run a Harbor Line location. Sienna looked at him. Yesterday you watched me quit. Today you are watching me hire. Keep up. Her phone buzzed again. She showed me the screen without hiding it from Russell. Another Hudson Crest employee had asked whether Blue Pine needed weekend help. I looked at Vince. Remember the commission lesson? It has a sequel. Vince said nothing. Silence was his best line all month. Sienna sent one reply, then looked at the empty space with a manager's face instead of a rescued woman's face. 2 tables by the window, register against the side wall, temporary menu board by the entrance, staff paid before shift, tips counted in pairs, nobody gets threatened for needing rent. The supplier rep nodded again, this time to her, not me. That mattered. Blue Pine had stopped being a cafe I bought for Sienna and started becoming a business. Sienna could command in front of the man who thought he owned her paycheck. The lobby had become a sorting machine. Family got office access. Sienna got flagship access. Jonah got event access. Suppliers got a reason to ignore Russell. Staff got a better place to work. Martin got removed from the debt table. Ryder got visitor status. Bryce got Kara's silence. Kara got no comeback. Graham and Theo got badges that expired at the end of the day. No one needed a conversation after that. Ownership had been applied to memory. The leasing director led us toward the Westbridge suite first. I let my father open the door. The room was not large. It did not need to be. It had glass walls, a view down toward the Harbor District, and a blank sign panel waiting for Westbridge Travel Group to stop looking like a past-tense company. Alan stood inside and touched the wall like a man testing whether dignity had texture. Teresa stood beside him with the watch on her wrist. Sophie leaned into the doorway, still pretending she was not crying. Maya stayed near my mother. Sienna stayed near the hall with the Blue Pine keys, already checking the loading message like a manager instead of a saved woman. The difference sat right there. I had not become the old rich kid again. The old rich kid spent money to keep people smiling at a table. I spent it to decide who got a door. The ledger appeared one last time that day. Empire mission completed. Core humiliation debts resolved. Future scale available after sustained operations. For once, I did not chase the next line. I looked back through the glass at the lobby, where the people who had called me broke were still figuring out which doors no longer opened for them. The perfect life was not a comeback. A comeback would have meant begging the old world to call me rich again. Better than that, I had my mother's watch back, my father's name back on a door, Sophie's future funded, Sienna's cafe protected, Maya's loyalty proven, Jonah's table upgraded, Blue Pine open, the lake house out of Martin's mouth. And every person who laughed when I fell had learned the same rule in a different way. Every dollar I spent on the right woman came back with interest. Every insult made the next door more expensive. And by the time Harbor Line's access cards clicked in our hands, nobody who called me finished could enter my life without permission.